Well, it's lovely to see all of your faces here today. We've got two old comers, Alexander and myself, and we got three newcomers. And this is the third Transel Culture stream that we have put together to fight and organize for trans rights across the United States, and to kind of draw a line in the sand against the rising tide of transphobic bills that are trying to be codified into law by bigots. Yeah, we are here. We're putting together a stream over the next 4 hours to talk about what we can do, talk about the different races, brainstorm some ideas going forward as we get closer to midterms to like really make a difference. And the more people we have here, the better. And we are going to be having a rotating cast of quite a number of streamers coming in and out as we progress today. And I, for one, am really excited. So you'll see us, we're going to be talking a lot about Pennsylvania, Georgia, Arizona, North Carolina, and Wisconsin. These are kind of the states where there are a lot of pivotal swing races that could really determine whether or not the people living in those states have rights if they're trans. In addition to a wide multitude of other things, beyond just trans rights. But we have Josh Shapiro versus Doug Mastriano. We got Fetterman v. Oz. We got Abrams v. Camp. Warnock v. Walker. We got all kinds of different races going on, and the goal of this stream is to get people plugged in to volunteering. We've teamed up with Progressive Victory 2022, and we are driving people to their Discord, which you can access via !victory. And on top of that, you can sign up to volunteer in your local, state, and national races wherever you live in the United States by going to transelculture.com. And you'll be able to access that by typing !map in chat. You simply fill out the form. You get your own little pin on the map, and you can see on that map where exactly everyone is. And it is going to be a really, really great time. So I highly recommend you all check that out. And with that being said, I'd love to introduce all the fine folk who are on stream today. You can do this in my chat too, just so you know. If you could introduce yourself, your name, where people can find you, kind of what your deal is, and pronouns, like that'd be great. And we can then we can get the show on the road. Whoever wants to start.
Hi, I'm Amy, or Don't Ooh My Oo is my Twitch handle, and probably a handle on a few other platforms that I don't really use. But I am a variety streamer. I've done a couple just chatting shows, but mostly video games. And I'm tiny. I don't stream that often anymore, but I'm trying to get back into it, and I'm just happy to be here.
Awesome. Welcome.
And she, her pronouns.
Excellent. Let's just kind of go in a circle. So Alexander. Hi.
Hello, I'm Alexander. I'm non-binary. I've been out for like 13 or 14 years or something like that, and I've been more and more politically interested in that time, getting more and more involved with various political groups, including this one. I'm excited to lend my voice here to our cause of like trying to band together and get more volunteers together and all that. So yeah, I'm excited to be here. My pronouns are they, them usually, or it's if you're feeling spicy. That's all.
Excellent.
My next? Great.
You are.
Hi, I'm Maddie Cakes, and I'm starting to stream again, a lot of politics, some gaming, but in real life, I'm a progressive organizer, activist, and I helped found a digital agency that works with a number of congressional, senatorial, and statewide campaigns. So if you're wondering why I have been streaming a lot, it's because it's an election year, and it's really busy.
Yep.
So, yep, and and my pronouns are she, her, and I am a proud queer bisexual woman. So, hello.
Oh, hell yeah. also, I love the coordinated wig, the trans rights wig. Gotta respect. Um,
Thank you for noticing.
yeah, yeah. Shark, let's round it out with you.
Sure. Hey, what's going on? My name is Shark300. That's the word shark. Oh my gosh, I haven't done this in so long. I forgot how to do my own like panel intro. the word shark, the number 3, the letter O, and the word 0. I'm happy to be here. My life is a little bit different than some people's here. I've only had to come out as black, but that's different than for other people. If I have to be honest, in real life, I am a world-renowned Splatoon player. But online, I am an activist as well. Also offline, but every once in a while. You can't see it, but up here, I did go to Louisville's Breonna Taylor march. I've been to a few of them. Helped out in Eastern Kentucky during the flooding in July. Helped donate some water bottles. Was there at the ground floor of Indiana's first Starbucks union. And trying to do my best to make the world a little bit of a better place. So I'm happy to be here. Thanks for having me.
Awesome.
Oh, and I guess
Thank
you can find me on YouTube or whatever.
Pronouns?
He, him.
And my name is Riverboat Jack, and I am a trans lady, she, her, and I've been involved in like the nonprofit space for a very long time. I was a journalist and I guess community builder for a national charity that aligns with Children's Miracle Network hospitals. And then I transitioned into covering politics and putting on these live shows, these live events, and building up communities. So the hope for this event and all of the subsequent events going into the future is to build up political power and to build up a community of people that can be called upon to volunteer in different races, to basically swing politics in a more progressive direction. That's the goal that we're kind of trying to prove that we can do as an online community for the midterms in 2022. And if that pans out, which I think it will, given that the last 2 events alone have brought in over 700 volunteers to campaign for progressive candidates, which is a huge number, considering that like 25 highly motivated people can change a race. So the hope is that going forward, this will be a community that can get involved in the 2024 election as well. So we're building something really, really cool here, and hopefully that is not going to just fizzle out after 1 or 2 political actions. So that is kind of our goal here, and we are again really asking you to go and sign up at transilculture.com to volunteer and join the Progressive Victory 2022 Discord at PV exclamation point victory in chat. One of the cool things, by the way, and the reason why we're directing a lot of people to the Progressive Victory Discord is because they have a combined decades upon decades worth of experience with political organizing and campaign building. And so if you have questions about whether how do I text bank? How do I phone bank? I want to get out there and do something, but canvassing is scary. I have social anxiety, blah, 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 blah. They have ways to make all of this way less intimidating, way less scary, and way more fun. And if you're, someone who's lonely and disaffected because of the last several years of COVID lockdown, this is a great way to get out there, meet like-minded friends, and make a positive impact on your community, and frankly, take a stand for trans rights, which are, again, under attack in pretty much every conservative state in the United States. So, with that being said, I just want to open up the discussion here to what about what about the races that you guys are finding interesting? Whether it's the Herschel Walker v. Warnock race, which is popping off in pretty much every conceivable way, or the Josh Shapiro v. Doug Mastriano race, or any of the state level races as well. And again, we're focusing on Pennsylvania, Georgia, Arizona, North Carolina, and Wisconsin. But yeah, what's kind of been catching your eye, and what have you been thinking about lately? Again, open to everyone.
I had no idea who Herschel Walker was until Twitter started blowing up, and I was like, "What?" Like everything I learned about this man, I'm like, I didn't know that the plot could thicken like this.
I had because I had heard of Christian Walker. I did not know that they were related until all of this blew up. And I was like, wait a minute. The guy that I always see whose TikToks go viral for being bazonkers, that's his son. Yeah, it's nuts. And it's really depressing when you see someone like that. And it's still like a relatively tight race. Or there are people that are willing to go above and beyond to excuse that behavior when you know they would never give the same extension of empathy to anyone else, especially a person with a uterus. They're like, no, that doesn't make sense. I also just want to say, I one race I'm really focused on. I married into a family that is big in the Midwest, so I'm loving the Wisconsin Senate race with Mandela Barnes versus Ron Johnson, who is awful. But Mandela is fantastic. And the fact that he's won a statewide election as lieutenant governor already bodes extremely well when looking towards his chances for beating Ron Johnson. And they just had a debate last night. And if you want to rage and like just get real upset at the disparity of competency and ability to address the issues, I suggest watching some of those highlights because it'll light a fire under you.
Yeah, I didn't get to watch that whole debate yet, but I did see one clip of it making the rounds, which is where the moderators do that softball question thing where they're like, name one thing you think the other candidate is good at. And Mandela Barnes just like straight up goes, I think he's a great family man. Like, he really cares about his family. Like, and that's a pretty standard answer. But then Ron Johnson steps up and is just like, yeah, this Mandela Barnes guy, and like just starts like laying into him, and the crowd starts booing.
American. Yeah. He's called Mandela Barnes anti-American, and then the crowd started booing because they're like, guy, you can't just like be nice for a second. Like it's because all of these Republicans are trying to copy and paste the blueprint set out by Trump, because that was his whole persona of being this like just like unrepentant asshole. But it works for maybe like his, I don't know, his brand. But when they're trying to recreate it, it just rings so much more hollow and try hard. And I think also people are just sick of it. They're like, come on, we've seen this. It doesn't work. You are not Trump, so tell us who you are. And they're like,
yeah. Well, and part of it is, again, and I think this is what makes it really easy for a lot of people here on the panel right now. Like, Mandela Barnes is just pro-trans rights. It's a really easy position to have. Like when you're a cis person, like it's a layup. But like for Ron Johnson and like transphobes who have that as one of their core political positions, they have to jump through like hoops and essentially present like bogus science and like try to back up their claim, because one of their kryptonites is being called out for their bigotry. Like if you call like a transphobe, they start crying, and that like gets amplified the higher up the political food chain they are.
They squirm.
Exactly.
Oh yeah. And there's so much hypocrisy. Sorry, and I think like that is really the key, is putting a label on it, calling it what it is, because they can't continue to hide behind this veil of what we really care about is protecting children. Oh no, what we really care about is making sure that the children are taken care of and whatever. It's like
we really care about the sanctity of women's sports.
Right. As a former college athlete, like college scholarship athlete, let me be the first to say, we did not get, if you're competing in whatever sport, we don't give a shit what gender our opponents were assigned at birth. Like I genuinely don't care about the state of their genitals. I don't care about any of that. That never even runs through your mind as an athlete. You just want to be the best at your sport and what you're doing. Like the fact that they pretend to care, I'm like, yeah, you don't care about women's sports. Stop pretending you care about women's sports.
Yeah, they've been to like maybe one women's volleyball game.
That's
only because we have to wear those awful shorts.
Sorry, what, Shark?
Yeah, it's like they go to one singular women's sports game because it was their nieces or something, and they actively always make fun of women even attempting to do anything physical because apparently they're not built for it, while also making fun of them for not being into like sports or anything, while also saying that it'd be so cool to have their like sports wife like walking around the house with like no pants on but like their favorite team's jersey on, bringing him in the boys dip. It's just, and like the only ever time that they care about something like gymnastics, which is an incredibly involved sport, is like when they can go see the new like gymnast in her like really tiny shorts go vault over, and that's the only thing that they really care about. They've never cared about that because like if they did, they wouldn't be passing laws to let the principal check like your like niece's genitals. They'd be passing laws that would make it harder for what they'd be doing is funding more women's sports in like under college, and what they'd be doing would be to make sure that those women don't get assaulted, abused, taken advantage of by their like coaches, by other people, and things when they're in like a vulnerable position. But they don't. They just don't care about it. They never have, and they never will. It's every single time they bring up women in these like scenarios, it's always just like a way for them to get a new sick dunk on trans people because they know they've never cared. But
Oh yeah.
Another like little point, and I'll pass the mic over again, is like when it comes to like not wanting to be called like a transphobe, nobody wants to. I mean, like nobody is the villain of their own story. Like as evil as a lot of conservatives seem, a lot of them aren't like going down into their rogues gallery lair under their giga mansions paid for by ExxonMobil executives and rubbing their hands together and going moo-ha-ha, how will I destroy the trans agenda today? It's more they have like their own ideas of it, and so the second they get called out on it, it's the sort of it's what you can see if you've ever like been next to these people and somebody hits them in like a contradiction and you hear like a weird grinding sound. That's their brain grinding up against reality, and the pain that they feel when they go when you have to come to grips with the fact that you're not correct but you don't want to say it.
Yeah, I mean it's the same thing. Like one of the things we've been seeing is that there are certain states where conservatives are trying to revive anti-trans bathroom bills. And one of what I find really interesting, right, is that conservatives are never like, well, we need to invest in bathroom infrastructure so that every business in our state or country can build, a third bathroom facility for the trans people, the trans only bathroom. No conservative is like, yes, we want to allocate billions of dollars to create bathroom facilities. What they want to do instead is punish and weaponize the police against trans people who get noticed going into the wrong bathroom. That's fundamentally what it comes down to, because that's what they care about. They want to essentially take the job of enacting violence on trans people that is currently kind of occupied by lone thugs, and they want to give that job to the police and legitimize it with the power of the state. And so that's why they never bring up like yes, we are very much in favor of using taxpayer dollars to build safe trans bathrooms for all of the trans people. Like, none of them do that. None of them do that because none of them want their tax dollars actually going to doing anything that might even tangentially benefit trans people. It's why so many of them lost their minds over the fact that like $900,000 went to like trans people's surgeries in the military or something, and that was enough of justification to ban all trans people from the military. You know,
And wasn't it like 22 million for Viagra or other erectile dysfunction drugs?
yeah, something
Well,
like
yeah,
I need it.
because those are important. Yeah.
soft PP bad.
Yeah, but like honestly, and don't let them. And I'm not sure if any, especially anybody listening, if you know how to combat that like sort of the bathroom argument, especially when it comes to like the weird like danger argument of having like men use like similar bathrooms to like female body people. We already have those bathrooms. They're called family bathrooms, where literally anybody can walk in at any point in time. They're everywhere. I've used them. You've used them. Everybody's used them. And nothing bad happens because people don't go in there to I was gonna make a joke, because people don't go into family bathrooms to like assault people. They typically go to the family bathrooms to pee or poo. I've heard it's happened. I'm not sure if women do it.
It's true.
though.
It's true. Well, also, like, just statistically, I haven't looked into this, but it seems like it would pan out that, like, more people coming into one bathroom would decrease the likelihood of, like, sexual assault. Like, what if we just combined all the bathrooms? What if we just had family bathrooms for all bathrooms?
Personally, a big fan of just like, if all the stalls could just be their own little bathroom so that there's not like a 5-foot gap in between the door and like the divider so that people can watch as I pee. If they could just be enclosed fully, that'd be great. I don't care if I see people at the sink, that's great. Fine, sure. But you know, as long as I have some privacy when I'm doing my business. But I imagine most people would like privacy when they're doing their business. But
how could the retail workers creepily check and see if you're shoplifting if the wasn't like visible gaps? Like, I'm pretty sure that's why they're designed that way.
Well, it's that.
Glass.
Oh, I thought it was just because they're cheap.
Yeah, it's that, and because they're cheaper, less material.
Yeah.
So how will the capitalists make their sweet, sweet money?
Oh no.
In college, in my dorm, our dorms were co-ed bathrooms, and you get used to it. It really isn't that bad. They're like, oh no, but then other people are going to know I'm pooping.
They're going to know. They're going to know.
It's okay. It's okay. We all poop. Everyone poops. It's okay.
It's like, honey, those noises you make screening were enough to tell us.
The extra fiber. I think for me, I guess the rates that I've been watching the most, I guess, has been mostly between well, I have to cover all of them, so I've been looking at all of them somewhat recently. I guess the one that's been popping off recently has been the Walker Warnock race between radical liberal Raphael Warnock and his opponent. That story is just incredibly interesting because it's on the back of a massive issue that Republicans have had this election season, which is another reason why Democrats are at a pretty good like place comparatively with other years. This is supposed to be a red wave year. There's literally no reason why we should be even talking about the Democrats holding or gaining seats in the Senate and possibly even holding the House. That's not supposed to be possible. But the Republicans have been so bad and their candidates are so terrible that it's like completely defying all election norms. And so this isn't the only one. I mean, there was the person in Missouri who made the guy in Missouri, I forgot his name, who did you've seen it, like the ad where he's like, here's my rhino hunting license, and he kicked down the door with SWAT, and it was supposed to be like, we're going to hunt non-Trump supporting Republicans, stuff like that.
Hunting rhinos.
Yeah, rhino hunter. And the guy who beat his children and then tied his mistress in his basement to his elliptical machine.
Yep.
Right.
Yeah, there was that. And now there's Walker, where he paid for 1, maybe 2 abortions, which on the surface, whatever. but it's the hypocrisy of it and the fact that they all come together and they're like, yeah, I mean, it's whatever, I guess. It's okay, I guess, as long as as long as he hates like trans people and black people, like as long as he can do that, that's fine. It's so
also like. Oh, sorry. Also, when it comes to Warnock, I know that the abortion stuff and like the hypocrisy of that has been at the forefront, but I really can't get over the very, very, very recurring nature of threats that he makes to people he doesn't like, which is where he repeatedly threatens to shoot people in the head. Like,
oh, is this Herschel Walker?
Herschel Walker, yeah. Herschel Walker has like half a dozen.
Like clarification on
He's
like which candidate are we talking about for that wants to shoot people in the head, because there's more than one.
Yeah, he like there are like affidavits from like his ex-wife's sister, like about how like he had called her looking for her, and then when he found out she was like his ex-wife was out with like her boyfriend, he told her he was going to shoot her in the head. Like he's not even denied it, and it's kind of wild that that's not like the major talking point. Like over you want to elect a guy who's going to shoot you in the head?
Yeah, not only that, he actually held a gun to her head and a knife to her throat and said he was going to kill her. So that happened a while ago. And the fact that Christian Walker had to come out and say that he threatened to kill like him and his family like over and over and over and over again, to the point where they had to move like 6 times. It's horrible. It really is bad. Yeah, there's that one, and there's the race in Ohio that Tim Ryan could possibly win, which I think is honestly hilarious. I think that's really funny, if I'm going to be honest. Because like his election with Hillary Clinton is what makes people think that Ohio is like a solid red state now. But I think like honestly, I know we weren't supposed to talk about it too much, but I think the race in Alaska is the most interesting race for me. Okay. The one that put in the first ever like Alaskan Native American into office, the statewide House race there, from the Republican who had been in office for what was it, 60 years? I think he was sitting there for 60
It had always,
years.
Yeah, it had been 60 years, and that seat had never once been in the hands of a Democrat.
Yeah, and then all of a sudden, 2 fights between the Republican candidates put them over the top, and then they're going to be doing a rerun of the same exact race in about a month from now to try to do it again. And it looks like Paltola, I'm pretty sure that's her name, could win again. That one's incredibly interesting. And I mean, like the fact that like we could possibly remain 2 Democrats in Georgia, 2 Democrats in Arizona. This is a wild world that we live in. I mean, I guess it's not too, I don't know, maybe I'm a young boy, okay, so I'm not too wild. I don't remember. I wasn't like cognizant of the world really when Claire McCaskill was voted into office in Missouri. I used to live in St. Louis, so my parents voted for her. But yeah, we're coming. It's really interesting how the Rust Belt and then the Sun Belt's moving and everything. It's quite an interesting time.
Yeah. And one of the interesting things too is like it's not just because you're young. Like it's because like this is an unprecedented year for fuck ups by Republicans, essentially. Because I don't think they know what to do in a post-Trump world, which is why they've been really hanging their hats on like protecting the sanctity of girls' sports and making sure that every children's hospital in the state is flooded with bomb threats for treating trans children. Like it's why they have to do this shit. It's because they know that they've fucked up and they don't know how to like politically get on the right foot again. And like it really doesn't help because a lot of the candidates they've been fielding are just like you said, Shark, like they're just so terrible. Like like Doug Mastriano is giving Josh Shapiro a run for his money in Pennsylvania for the governorship, but like
he's a freaking dumpster fire.
He's he has pictures of himself in uniform in the uniform of the Confederacy. like he is posed for pictures. He showed up to a faculty meeting at like West Point or some military school in like the uniform of the Confederacy, and like his colleagues were just kind of like, what why are you doing that? Like you didn't even have to dress up. Like you went
No, he
out of
just
your
wanted
way.
to. He really he
Army
was
War
having fun.
College.
Yeah, he just had a Confederate uniform laying around, you know.
And then
you know how you do.
Now put it to use.
Dr. Oz just had an appearance in which he was speaking in front of one of Hitler's old cars adorned with the swastika.
Wait, really?
Oh, yeah,
Yes.
you
yeah.
didn't see that? Oh yeah, he
No.
was.
At a high dollar fundraiser in California. Let's see if I can find
Oh
more
my
on it.
god.
Yeah, he was standing in front of
They
Hitler's
look-
old Volkswagen, I remember, and then he had Jordan Peterson call in.
Oh my god.
It was quite interesting.
I can't
It's funny
believe.
because he was accusing his like hit line on Fetterman was, oh, he looks like a Simpsons character. The Simpsons literally made they also had a bit where they showed someone speaking in front of Hitler's car, and then Oz literally fucking spoke in front of Hitler's car.
Oh my god.
Yeah, and then it came out. I'm not
It's
sure if you saw
literally
it
right
recently.
behind him.
Yeah, like back when he was working as like an actual doctor doing research at a college, that his lab killed 600 bunnies and rodents.
Puppies.
An
too.
entire litter of
Yeah,
puppies. Not only just like some, an entire litter. He gassed an entire litter of puppies. Like genuine, just like I would
Over
make up that
300 dogs,
stuff.
including puppies.
Yeah,
Yep.
300
Yeah.
dogs, including an entire litter of puppies and a bunch of
but
other.
Shark.
He's a
Shark.
literal puppy killer.
It gets even worse because he didn't just kill an entire litter of puppies. He killed like a good portion of that litter of puppies and then threw the dead bodies into a plastic bag that had still living puppies inside of it.
Oh my
Yeah.
gosh.
Yeah.
Oh my
Yeah.
gosh.
I didn't know
gets
that.
He's like an
Oh my
actual
God.
demon.
Yeah, like also there was a report from one of the experiments where they kept the dog alive for like a month torturing it and then weren't even able to get any like medical research out of that. So they just did it for no reason. One
One Oz-led study resulted in a litter of puppies being killed by intracardiac injection with syringes of expired drugs inserted in their hearts without any sedation. That is
Like-
fucking monstrous. These are like...
Yeah,
Jeez.
you gotta get pretty bad. You gotta do pretty bad to get like the ethics community to come down on you like that when it comes to animal experimentation, especially when it comes to like small animals like rats and rodents. Like if you're doing that to like rats and rodents, the ones that people give like the least of a hoot about, then they're like, then you know that you've done something wrong. Like that's not. it's
you
genuinely
have to
wild.
work. You have to work
You do
really
have to work
hard
double
to
time
be called a
to get
puppy
them.
killer.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
When people describe like a villain or like, oh, imagine a villain, they're like, oh, you know, angry eyebrows and da 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 da, and like kills puppies. Like that, I feel like is on the short list of like, okay, just like cartoon villain. Who is it?
No,
And that is
Maddie,
it.
Maddie. Even Cruella de Vil was at least killing the puppies to use their coats as part
To,
of her
like, make a
clothing.
coat, and he
Yeah,
just did it for no output, for like zero
Yeah.
scientific gain, zero medical gain. Just
Yep,
He just in his spare time, he just likes killing puppies.
I guess.
he's like, well, I had the time.
Yeah.
So
I mean,
Yeah.
I knew he was a monster of a man, but holy crap.
Yeah, that on top of his like record of lying to people's grandmas and like suburban moms about like
yeah.
drugs that he was being paid under the table for to promote on his show. So, you know, it's not he's you know, he's just a character, you know. He's
He's as
massive
dishonest
character.
as dishonest comes.
Well, he's also one of the only medical doctors I've ever seen have like actual medical journals publishing pieces in them calling him like a fake doctor who no one should take seriously. Like it's actually kind of shocking that you can open up different, like, again, medical journals don't do that. Medical journals usually are publishing research, but like he gained so much prominence and so much clout that the impartial like scientific community had to like start saying, please stop listening to this man.
Yeah.
You're making
Yeah, and I
everything
mean-
worse. Stop, please.
Yeah.
Seriously. Well, and also it's just because, he had this massive platform where he, I think, figured out pretty quickly, as a lot of people do, that, oh, if I take money from these companies, yeah, I can shill for them because it gives them a nice, quote unquote, credible face because I'm a medical doctor. It doesn't actually have to work, but this is like, I'm going to make more money this way than if I did actual medicine. So why wouldn't I do that? And now he has like lots of fancy houses. I assume one of which may be, oh, if you see the ears in the background, that's my dog. Which is why I take the puppy killing stuff really seriously. But yeah, he gets all these houses, and maybe one of them is in Pennsylvania now.
Yeah.
Who knows?
He doesn't even live. He doesn't even live there. He just decided that he wanted to run there because he knew he would get
It's
Trump's
adjacent.
endorsement because he said something nice to him.
Yeah. Ugh. It just, for anyone to even consider voting for someone like that, I'm like, that just demonstrates how unserious you are about anything, because you actually don't care about the candidate. You don't care about their history, their credibility, anything. You just care that there's an R next to the name.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not
And
sure if you
that's
all
it.
saw this, but that's just kind of, I mean, that's just kind of how they work. I mean, we really saw like the modern day sort of like Trumpian Republican, how they don't care about anything besides just like getting a hold of power and then like holding it for dear life as long as possible. What was his name? Roy Moore in like Mississippi.
Oh, yeah.
Who
Yes.
like was incredibly accused of like hunting sexually many small girls at the mall for so long that he had to get banned from the mall. But then a lot of like older women were just like, well, I mean, he was just being real nice to him. Yeah, they should feel they should feel
Honored.
they should feel honored that he took interest in them. And it was wild. And then he
God.
almost won his race. He almost did.
I swear. I swear conservatives would make excuses if a Republican was revealed to have actually like participated in recreating like the deadliest game or something like that, the most dangerous game, and like had like a people hunting island. And
yeah, I mean,
like Republicans would just be like,
they consented.
Yeah, I mean, remember when
they
Trump said
consented.
back when he was running, he said I could shoot somebody on Fifth Avenue and I wouldn't lose any votes. I mean, it's just true. And like, especially we saw when it happened with Herschel Walker. Remember how they're supposed to say like, this is murder, you're literally killing people, you should be put on death row for this. There was somebody who came up after this whole thing happened on The Blaze, and she was like, I don't care if Herschel Walker got like paid for an abortion. I wouldn't care if he intentionally killed an entire nest of endangered bald eagles. I want control of the Senate. And then she just looked at the camera and was like, I don't care. I just want control of the Senate. This is just what these people are. I say it all the time, like, we can't give these people any levers of power at all. They don't care about anything besides just making the world worse.
Yeah, 100%. Like, and listening to that like made me think of Carrie Lake. And I know that this race I think has gone a little bit under the radar, but Carrie Lake is Hello?
Hello?
Oh,
You're still
okay.
there?
I think I dropped out for a second. But sorry. But Carrie Lake is a race that's gone kind of under the radar, and I think that a lot of it has to do with the fact that she presents herself well and presents herself like she's not like a caricature of pure evil. And so one of the things here with her race in particular is, you know, she'll go up and like present herself well, but then she'll say things like, we need to arrest Anthony Fauci, you know, to like thunderous applause, or we need to, you know, get the rainbow out of our schools because the woke moralists have replaced God and the flag with the rainbow. And essentially, like, to the point where Republican, like mainstream Republicans who pay attention to this shit are basically flagging her as one of the most dangerous like Trump imitators and like an actual danger to democracy. You know, like,
Yeah.
Do you remember what she said before she actually won the nomination?
you'll
Over
have that.
Hobbs?
She said so many things. So
She
go for
said,
it.
during the you should look it up. You should look up there's like a supercut of the Republican Arizona governor's race. debate. It was so there was like one Italian woman who always went "Mamma mia" when she was getting talked over, which honestly was hilarious. And there was like another guy who said that the polls were lying, even though he was polling at like 0.1%, and he said he was going to win because the polls lying, they want to shut him down. But like Carrie Lake, who won, she said that the reason why Arizona went for Biden was because Democrats trafficked 5 million illegal votes on the back of mules over the Rio Grande. I'm not lying to you. That's what she said, and the mod was genuinely losing his mind.
Mules.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, what was it?
Backs of mules.
Yeah, 5 million votes on the backs of mules into the country through Mexico.
No one noticed the migration of mules.
Yeah, and she was one of the people
crossing over
during the election cycle who said that we need to check all the ballot boxes for bamboo fibers to see if they came from China. Because they think that like all Chinese people, I don't know, maybe they played WoW and they think all Chinese people are actual pandas just in the factories eating bamboo and putting together the election systems. It's wild. Yeah. It truly was insane.
Don't be ridiculous, Shark. They mine gold there.
Oh yeah, my bad.
Also, everyone knows there's no bamboo anywhere else. It's just in China. There's no bamboo that we grow here at all whatsoever.
That's factual. I've heard that before.
That checks out. It's wild, but like that kind of, I just want to say that kind of candidate is who scares me the most. Because we've gotten, I don't want to say lucky, but like we've gotten a little bit lucky with the fact that so many of these, like there's a massive candidate quality problem. The scary thing is that there are people who can have a nice smile. They can say things that sound reasonable and sound like they are educated on a particular subject, whatever, and then they just slide in the most heinous shit in terms of policy and other things, and they do so cynically because they know what they're doing, because they're smart enough to know what they're doing. Those people scare me a lot more than these just like complete idiots.
Yeah, that's basically like what we're looking at, coming up, 2 years down the road is, people are still talking about Trump. No, I'm worried about DeSantis. I'm worried about a statesman getting that job who hates us just as much as Trump did, if not more, who knows how to manipulate the system.
Exactly.
Trump didn't.
And people, it's also those type of people. So there are plenty of these sort of what they might call themselves moderate Republicans. They kind of have like more libertarian leaning. And a lot of those people, they have trouble voting for the people who are outwardly, like overtly racist, misogynist, homophobic, transphobic, whatever. But when those people are given someone who's clean cut, who comes from what they consider like a respectable background, if you put a nice, polite face on it and just transfer all of that to dog whistling, then that they feel like that gives them permission to support this person because, oh no, I'm not a racist, I'm not transphobic, I'm not sexist, because this person, they don't like yell the N-word, they don't yell slurs all the time and like whatever. So of course they're not bigoted. Look at them. They're so poised. It gives them permission. That's what scares me.
Yeah, like part of the issue is like a lot of there are so many socially acceptable ways to convey bigotry right now. Like so many different dog whistles, like more so than in the past even. Like where Carrie Lake can go up in front of a crowd of people and talk about how all these undocumented immigrants are somehow got 5 million mules or whatever to bring votes across the border, and like conservatives will just clap along and be like, yes, queen, yes, but like don't understand how that is like a deeply racist dog whistle that has no basis in reality. The same way like a lot of the trans stuff, like, oh, we need to make sure trans women don't go into our bathrooms because they're you know what they're like, and like the assumption is that the audience is gonna nod along because, well, yeah, men are just inherently violent. So if you allow men into a women's restroom, of course they're gonna rape women. Like that's the entire underlying assumption. And
Can I just point out
Republicans will
really
just
quickly?
like nod along. Yeah.
I looked it up. The estimate is that in the entire world right now, there are about 10 million mules in total. So what she's proposing is that half the world's
them.
population
Wow.
of mules are crossed the border and are now somewhere in Arizona. And so
Well, to
half
be
the world's
fair to
mules-
her, I think she said 5 million votes on the back of mules, which
Oh,
would
okay,
probably
so
take
not
less
one
than
mule
5
per-
million. Probably not one per mule. I think
That's fair.
so. She says
Okay.
the Democrats are at least doing like a couple hundred per mule.
One
but
vote
Okay.
per mule.
There's still a lot. I mean,
Okay.
it's not
I'm
too much
just
different from Donald Trump unironically going, well, the illegal aliens, they voted and then they put on a new hat and then they voted again and they put on a fake mustache and they voted again and then 3 little ones were in a big trench coat and they all voted. And they went around and then did it separately. I mean, it's...
Did he actually say
Yeah.
the 3 little ones in a trench coat?
Maybe.
But he was heavily implied.
Maybe.
Or like, it's funny because actually there were some people that tried to vote twice, but the majority of them were Trump voters and they were caught
That's true.
and like
Yeah.
were facing charges for it because actually our system has a lot of flaws in other ways, including access to voting, that sort of thing. But when it comes to ensuring the integrity of the vote and preventing voter fraud, it's actually quite good.
Yeah. I mean, like, and on top of that, you have a slightly different orientation of politician, right? Who will be like, well, I'm not bigoted. I simply believe that if we repealed all of the protections that groups have, that people would simply not be bigoted towards those people. You know, like the whole, it's kind of like the cute approach to like bigotry. Like, oh, you trans people and you queer people don't need special protections. We'll just get rid of those, and everything will be fine.
They act like who would even want to bother you? Like homophobia is over. Who would even want to bother you for being gay? Like meanwhile, like
Yeah.
I know at least 3 people who've been like beaten up within the last 5 years.
We all know that
Yeah.
Obama abolished racism.
It's true.
And homophobia. So, and Pete Buttigieg abolished homophobia.
Well, no,
that's what I told her.
don't you be stealing Trump's accomplishment when he stood up on that stage and held up that LGBT flag
You're
upside
right,
down.
My bad.
He abolished homophobia in that very moment. Okay.
Yeah. Hillary Clinton
don't-
almost abolished sexism, but we're still waiting for that one.
One day.
She came so close.
One
Yeah.
day.
But like Ted Budd in North Carolina is like that type of politician. You know, like he has gone on record as saying essentially that LGBTQ people don't need civil rights law protection at all. He answered that sexual orientation and gender identity should not be protected. It should not be a protected class in regards to non-discrimination laws. So just like he's not homophobic. He just thinks that like you shouldn't be prosecuted if you're homophobic and act on it.
Sure.
It's because they like to assume they're like they just are completely opposed to any notion of intersectionality. And I mean, if you ask them, you're like, should any classes be protected? Their answer is going to be no, because they think they've enjoyed sort of being in this superior societal position as like cis white men. In their cases, like some affluent cis white men. So of course they're like, no, why should anyone get special treatment? They should all, have to rough it like I did. It's like, but did you? Because you were never targeted for your identity. They just have no empathy or ability to view the life experience through someone else's lens that experiences violence, threats, and just in general, like oppression.
I don't know about
their
that.
identity.
I don't know about that, Maddie. I've been listening to Kanye recently, and he's got some really interesting things to say about the oppression of the white race.
Them.
Okay.
Right.
I will actually push back against that a little bit. And I'll say, actually, they don't completely agree with that because they won't say nobody does. They'll say air quotes Americans do. And they'll either say just Americans generally, they'll say real Americans, something like that. Real America, Americans, but it's asterisks. I mean, Americans that like vote for me. Those are the ones that need like real protection. Those are the ones that need help. And they'll either say, and sometimes they'll be even more out and be like, white people need more protection because they're more oppressed than anybody else is in the world, or in like the country at the moment. And we need to stop these Mexicans from coming in, and we got to stop these black people from committing so many crimes. And we got to stop these like, you know, this that and the third, or whatever it really is. They do think like protection needs to be had, but they want to spin it for themselves to make them seem like they're the ones who are the real oppressed groups in the country, when we all know it's absolutely it's just like it's cry bullying.
They don't they don't
or the Christians need protection.
Right. Well, because they don't see it as like, oh no, these are groups that are systemically oppressed and face violence because of their identity. They see it as, oh wait, why do those people get special privileges? Oh no, why do those people get special things? I want all those special things. Or if I can't have it, then they shouldn't have it. But only the people I like or the groups that I'm part of should have it. So they don't, it's like when you're so detached from any form of like real oppression or identity-based violence, that you view just like basic, you view basic protections as like, oh no, but they get all these cool things. They get to be special. It's like, no, you'll be fine.
Yeah, classic quote, when equality comes, it'll to the oppressor, it'll seem like oppression.
Yeah. I mean, it's why you get people talking about like South Africa and like the oppression of like the whites in South Africa, right? Like it's exactly like what you said, Shark. It's equality to these people looks like oppression. But with that, let's go around one more time, just kind of to wrap up this first hour of discussion, and then we'll move into kind of the next segment, which will be kind of us spitballing some ideas on what we could do to get some media attention on some of our races that we're looking at. Let's start with Don't Uwu My Owo.
What am I doing?
Just final thoughts on our general conversation so far, and
y'all are vastly better read than me on these races. I was trying to catch up during and read up on the notes and stuff, but in PA there's a lot of races that are getting pretty interesting. My partner is registered independent, so we get a lot of flyers that are from Republicans, and there's a hammer and sickle on a lot of them. Apparently Chris DeLuzio, a guy I've never heard of, is a socialist who's bringing in the next Antichrist or something. But the Fetterman race is really interesting.
Yeah.
I've enjoyed watching him. He's a really cool guy.
Yes. Yeah. Luxander.
Hello. I don't feel like I had a whole lot to add to this first segment. Like, we've talked about all these different races at various points a bit. I mean, honestly, just like everything I learned about Herschel Walker just has me like reeling. I'm like, I didn't know that this was possible in a political candidate. Like, oh my God, every single thing I learned about him. It's one of those, I'm just riveted by it. I'm just like, I'm at the edge of my seat, like waiting with bated breath for every update. What'd you say, Shark?
Oh, it's like what's next? It's like a movie. You paid for your entire seat, but you only need the edge.
Exactly. Yes. Yeah. So I'm just astounded constantly at the depths of depravity.
Maddie, what about you?
There's a lot of really interesting races right now, and I've been very encouraged by how much energy already has been galvanized around these candidates and the kinds of media attention that they've been able to generate. So I'm stoked about Wisconsin in particular, and I think we have a really strong chance, not only in Arizona and Georgia, but also I think we have a good chance of hanging on in Nevada, which is fantastic. I've gone and done some canvassing in Nevada, and canvas in rural Nevada, it'll change you. And yeah, I'm excited. I'm just thinking that, especially with the slew of decisions that have come down from Biden in the last few weeks, I think it's going to help mobilize people to the polls. I am going to work my ass off through the finish line to make sure that we can feel really good about the outcome on election day. But yeah, and yeah, Herschel Walker is just a Russian nesting doll of terribleness that just never ends. You don't get to the bottom.
It's like a bottomless pit of it, just like layer after layer, and it seems to never end.
You're like, oh, yeah, it's like instead of oops, all berries, you're like, oops, all bad, all terrible.
And Shark.
Sure. I think, thank you for mentioning Nevada. I forgot to mention Nevada. It's one of the closest, it's turned into one of the closest races this election cycle. So if there's any, race that you were thinking about putting any sort of money into, I would say like the big ones would be probably Nevada being top of the list, then Georgia, then Ohio. If you really want your dollars to have like the most amount of work done. And then actually my bad, I put Wisconsin right under Nevada. Lots of really close races.
Yeah,
honestly, that will need your help. And so listen, if once again, if you're like, man, I'm pretty sad, man, I ain't got any bitches, I have no friends, I need somebody to play Rocket League with. And once again, bitches is any gender, okay? Just to make sure that we're all clear here.
Oh yeah.
Getting out and organizing and getting out there and meeting like-minded people for the same goal of making the world a better place is something that can really get you out of doom scrolling. It can really get you out of like a bad mind state and get you back into feeling like yourself, and honestly even better than yourself, that you remember. Because I know when I go out to help people, it's truly a great feeling. So there you go. There's even a selfish reason to do it.
You meet so many fun people. Yes, and if you want to come, canvas in Nevada, hit me up on Twitter or Discord or anywhere else. Like, I'm going to be going there a few times. I will, if you're based in California, I will drive you.
If you're in Pennsylvania, I am one of the state leads with Progressive Victory, by the way, for PAs. So we need more volunteers in a lot of races.
Like a lot of these races are incredibly close, which is why one of the reasons I got really excited about putting together these kind of volunteer organizing events that we're doing here on Twitch and on stream is because like you have the capacity to actually like tip the scales. Like when we're talking about like a 1% polling difference, like you getting out there and like knocking doors or calling people or like texting people can actually like shift the balance of power meaningfully in these races. And you don't have to be from that state in order to participate in that way. I believe you don't even have to be like from the United States if you want to canvass.
No.
Yeah, yeah,
we had students from Germany during the presidential primaries in 2020 canvass in Iowa with us. So yeah, you can be from anywhere.
And because you can phone and text bank, that means like if you are in our audience and you are anywhere in the world, you can also play a hand in shifting the balance of power in the United States, which I know has ramifications for literally every other place on Earth. With that being said, yeah, a lot of these races are super interesting. I wasn't paying attention to that Nevada race, but I will be now. Thank you, Shark. And yeah, we just have, it is a target-rich environment to asshole conservatives. Like you throw a dart. Basically, any conservative running a campaign right now is engaging in like open and blatant transphobia and bigotry and dog whistling racism. Like like you cannot find a campaign where that isn't. And it's key to not just like trans rights, but also abortion rights. For example, like Wisconsin's race
Draconic
is
Forces,
currently
thanks so
like
much for the sub. I
heavily
appreciate you.
hinging on abortion rights. Tony Evers has been trying multiple times to get rid of the 1849 abortion laws that are in place there that got reactivated by the repeal of Roe v. Wade. And the conservatives in that state aren't having it, even though it is a widely popular thing to get rid of that and ensure that people in Wisconsin have access to abortion. And
Barnes, by the way, is only leading by 2.9% currently.
yeah, Evers is currently only leading by 1%. You know, like shoring up some of these is like crucial if we want to make sure that like, I don't know,
He's losing
like,
by my mistake.
if you want to make sure that like rape victims can get abortions, if you want to make sure that like people who people who are sick and like, you know, have cancer aren't forced to wait until their cancer metastasizes in order to get like treatment just because they happen to be pregnant when they got diagnosed, like you need to turn out, because abortion exceptions when it comes to like incest, rape, or like the health of the mother, these are all like bogus. Okay, you know, it is essentially a salve to like make conservatives feel better about denying women healthcare. Okay, because ultimately, how long does it take the cops to establish whether or not an abortion occurred? Do you know? Because I think it's usually longer than it takes to deliver like a baby to term. Or what about the health? Are you comfortable with like one of your loved ones getting pregnant and then being refused healthcare because they happen to be pregnant and like the treatment might harm like the fetus?
I mean,
I'm not.
In other places now, people are being denied other medications, not because they're pregnant, but because they they potentially could theoretically, just like anyone with a uterus who hasn't gone through menopause could theoretically get pregnant. So they're being denied care because they're like, oh, but it could potentially have complications in the event that you did get pregnant. And these are people sometimes that those are medications that are life-saving and that they have had a prescription for years, in some cases over a decade, that they are now being denied. And it's ridiculous.
This election is really like a referendum in a lot of ways on whether or not you think women deserve to have health care and whether or not you think trans people have the right to exist in public, you know? And
like, how
for
is
me,
that not sex-based fucking discrimination? Like, that's my question.
Right.
Like, it's like,
exactly,
because you're female, you could be pregnant at any time. Therefore, because you're female and could get pregnant, you can't have this medicine that any man could have.
Yeah.
You know what? That's an interesting thing to take to like not UCLA. What?
ACLU.
ACLU.
Yeah.
ACLU. Because that's actually a really interesting that's a really interesting like judicial question that you may actually win like even like some conservative judges on, because even we still have to remember even this Supreme Court didn't vote for Trump's sort of like what his like push to redefine what like sex is and everything. That would be discriminating and they ruled that it would be discrimination based on sex. So based on that, they may actually take up that argument, which is actually really interesting. I didn't think about that before.
I mean, when you really think about it, too, a lot of trans rights hinge on a discrimination, or like hinge on like protections similarly, because if you're discriminating against someone for being trans, it's literally because you're like, well, your sex doesn't match your gender presentation. So
we have
I'm
read some infuriating laws. Like we go like on my stream, we sometimes go through and actually read individually all the points, and like they'll say like it's not sex discrimination because it's like not medically appropriate for young girls to be given a testosterone. It's unnatural and we don't know the consequences. So it's not sex discrimination because it's for totally different conditions. And I was like, okay, you assholes.
Doesn't make
It's like
any
Church
sense.
Ann.
Yeah. Oh God. Oh, were you gonna say something, Maddie?
No, I was going to point out also that like a lot of it goes in line because similarly to the argument of like being denied treatments because you have the potential to potentially get pregnant. That also goes in line with, especially with trans youth being denied gender affirming care and treatments when there are cis children who receive those exact same treatments for like different medical reasons because they have those applications and those people still don't seem to find a problem with it. It's only when it's for gender affirming care or any sort of transition or just preventing them from going through puberty so they can figure out what their gender identity is without having to then do it after they've gone through puberty.
Well,
Apparently-
Maddie, have you considered that mental distress is not the same as physical distress, and therefore that's the argument that like transphobes present, like it because it's the pain and suffering is mental, therefore trans kids should be denied treatment until they're adults.
Yeah, they're like, it's just your brain.
Yeah, you should just be tortured for like the next 10 years until you figure it all out, sweaty.
And then they accuse you of being manipulative when you bring up the suicide statistics.
Yeah.
Right. Or, oh my God. Yeah. Or they're just like, I had to suffer and now I'm a perfectly normal, well-adjusted alcoholic with hypertension. Like, okay. Yeah, like.
Yeah.
They're never okay. They're never actually okay.
No. Okay, so we are going to transition. Haha, that was sort of a play on words. To talking about what we can do to attract media attention beyond what like we ourselves can do as individuals, right? So one of those, we were gonna have like say goodbye to some people, but there are a few people who couldn't show up today for various reasons. My bad. One thing, folks, please use !map in order to volunteer. You can fill out a short form and indicate what types of volunteering you're interested in doing, whether it is text banking, phone banking, in-person canvassing.
This works
Also,
in
once you
Twitch
get plugged
chat.
into the Progressive Victory
works in
Discord
Twitch
server,
chat.
you can also pitch ideas outside of those three things that you are interested in doing, whether it is like graphic design that you're interested in, contributing to different campaigns or volunteer efforts, or you're interested in writing an ad copy or something like that for different campaigns, or tailoring certain messaging to smaller subsets of a politician's audience. These are all things that you can do. And you just need to type !map in chat to head over to transalculture.com in order to fill out that form. If you've already filled out that form but you haven't joined Progressive Victory, you can use !victory in chat to head over to the Progressive
also
Victory
works?
2022 Discord. And once you're there, you will have access to all kinds of experts in political organizing who will be able to teach you kind of how do you text bank, how do you phone bank, how do you canvass, how do you do all these things, what do you do to get involved and actually like change and better your communities. So these are all things, especially if you've been disaffected, especially if you've been feeling hopeless and doomer pilled. These are things that can get you back on that sweet, sweet hopium. Okay. On top of that, I would encourage everyone else to check out the other commands that we have added, which are !health, which will take you to protecttranshealth.org. And that is essentially where people can give public comment on the Biden administration's proposed change to the Affordable Care Act that would prevent discrimination against LGBTQ plus people in healthcare settings. So it's really important that you go there and give public comment in support of that. That actually is something you can do right now to protect trans rights. And I would also recommend you type !survey into chat and take the U.S. Trans Survey because we need better information to better cater to trans people across the U.S. So do that right now. Go. And with that, we're moving to our next segment, which is let's workshop a little bit. What are some ideas that we have on how we can kind of take some action that would get our message out there a little bit better beyond just doing these streams? A couple of the suggested ideas that just off the top of our heads the other day were calling offices of legislators who have introduced anti-trans bills and doing that on stream to kind of walk our audiences through how to do that and show how easy it can be, and then kind of coordinating a calling campaign against bigoted legislators. Another idea that we had was mass creation of pro-trans parody accounts of conservative figures and politicians, which I think could be a whole lot of fun. You know, pro-trans Dave Rubin, the highest level of idea. But yeah, I just want to open that floor up. We can refine some of the one of those ideas, or just spitball some other ideas. We want to have like one or two that we can act on as we get closer to midterm.
I love the parody account idea. It's just, I love things like that. I also love when people find that certain domains haven't been bought or secured and then they repurpose them. But though that often you kind of have to have a bit of foresight with that one. And, you know, web development's not super easy, but, you know, looking forward to other races, that could be an option. I have a friend who is big on the student debt forgiveness activism front. And a lot of times what she'll do is they'll make these gigantic signs and they'll stage with a group of like 5 or 6 people. They'll go in front of the White House and like hold the signs. She's also often she'll call a photographer and say, hey, can you take really good like high quality shots of this? And then they blast it out everywhere. And now the photos that she's had taken of them doing that, with them holding like gigantic signs that say cancel student debt, it's now those photos are used in articles as like a stock photo for that fight. So even something like that, you just have to think, okay, not only what can I do now, but then how do I amplify it? So on the ground work is great. Calling campaigns are great. Also, like, organize your family and friends. Get them involved. Make it fun. Like, I've had phone bank parties at my house where I just like order a bunch of pizza and we like do phone banking for a few hours and have a good time.
Do Pokemon go to the polls?
Pokemon go to the polls? Okay, Hillary.
Also, I know that was really cringe, but do you guys remember how popular Pokemon Go was? That was a magical time.
For sure. What a song.
Yeah.
It truly was a magical
It was fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was something.
So yeah, like I love the idea of like putting together like phone banking parties. That's a really good idea. Maybe we could all have like a phone banking party on stream. That could be kind of fun. I'm not sure how that would
fun.
how we could organize that from a technical standpoint. But
you would have to have
it would still be fun.
You'd have to have it where the audio from the phone calls are like not being broadcast.
Yeah, we can only broadcast our side. We can't broadcast theirs.
Yeah.
But or you can just have background music and people can watch as we're doing it. It's like, hey, you want to join? Here's the link to training or whatever. So yeah,
that could be neat. Yeah, like weird calling ASMR stream
Mhm. Or if someone's good at like doing a Ben Shapiro impersonation or like any of those like talking heads, make like funny deep fake videos of them supporting trans rights.
Funny you should mention that. There is a new AI coming out that is using GPT-3 to produce podcasts between hypothetical people. So, like the one that they just released was Steve Jobs and Joe Rogan, and it sounds like it is Steve Jobs talking to Joe Rogan. Like the deep fakes are ridiculous.
Yeah. So like, I don't know, you can make funny, because anytime you can create a really good piece of content and then amplify it,
Yeah.
that is going to be really good. In the last few weeks leading up to the elections, though, I mean, nothing beats on the ground, like boots on the ground, actually mobilizing voters. But it's also good to team up like with other organizations that have infrastructure in those different markets to you know, whether it's joining one of their phone banks, or if they're doing like a get out the vote virtual event, like promoting that. Remember when we had all those like fun virtual events during 2020, like all the cool reunions that were promoting like fundraising and stuff for all those races, and they were super great. And then I haven't really seen a lot of them anymore, and I miss them because.
Oh, you mean the AOC Among Us stream?
It was great. It was It was like a really fun time. I know. I mean, with some of the candidates I work with, I know there have been a few. They're like, yeah, I'd be willing to play some video games with like a prominent streamer and answer questions and have that be like an outreach mechanism. Obviously, like the age of some of the candidates is maybe higher than what the streamers are used to in terms of like having a guest on. But like, I don't know, we can get creative about like, okay, how can I make this fun and interactive?
Yeah, one of the ideas that Aaron Green had, and I believe Aaron will be joining us at some point during this stream, is essentially turning it into kind of like an old school telethon, like a PBS like telethon, where we like cycle out like who's doing, like all the other people on screen can be doing the phone banking, but then the unmuted person can kind of be emceeing it and being like, here's why this is important. Here's how you can get involved. You know, like, and if you donate at a $35 tote bag, you know, like something like. I do like that idea. I think that could be fun, especially as like a marathon style stream. I don't know how long people would be down to do that, but I think it could be really fun, especially as like combining all of our audiences together. Because I mean, in total, like in our organizing Discord for these events, we have like a solid like 20-ish people, maybe 30 people, and plus like the people who've expressed interest but haven't been able to show up. So like, I don't know, combining all of that for like a kind of a telethon style stream would be I think pretty neat.
I think
Yeah, and also
fun.
Oh, I thought someone was talking. I didn't want to cut somebody off. Yeah, and getting involved with your like local organizations, whether those be like big or small, whether those be like DSA or something else, could be like could be like a tenants union, could be an advocacy group
cool.
for like unhoused people. As well, could be pretty good. I can't give like
we have Food Not
information.
Bombs here in Pittsburgh, which is another great organization for helping the houseless.
Yeah, and obviously, like, policy is what made these issues, and so policy is partly how we fix them. And so getting talking to those people and getting them out to help get on the ground, help do some phone banking as well, get involved in that community. So you don't, so it can also be a good way for you to learn how to be like a part-time leader as well, not just like show up and be like given something and then just like walk around until like you're told to do something else. It can build some of those skills for how to actually like, I'm not saying like you're not contributing, but I'm saying like learn how to like pitch some ideas as well for things that people weren't thinking of, because like you're a unique human being with your own unique ideas, and everybody needs to, and everybody pitching in is how we become better. Just one person making all of the decisions makes it like a single weak link that could like break the entire chain. But if we're all strong and we're all like pitching together and we're all like putting through ideas, it's a lot harder for them to break us. And so I feel like that'd be great for people to do as well.
Monkey together strong.
So true.
Yes. One thing I did during 2020 as well, it might be a little late to do it now, but like any not really a parody account, but it's more like you'll see some like where it's like dogs for so and so, like dogs for Fetterman or cats for whatever. I was an Elizabeth Warren supporter, and I had dogs for Warren, and I just started it on a whim and just posted all the photos I could that I saw from supporters and from events and other things where it was dogs at events, the supporting that candidate, the asking people who support that candidate, hey, send me a picture of like your dog next to a sign or a t-shirt or something, and it blew up. And so things like that, if you can incorporate cute and pets, especially with Fetterman, considering he's running against someone who literally murdered puppies, that I think also, I'm trying to think of what like works for the internet, and if there's something the internet loves, it's cute animals.
Yeah.
So
true.
There's
true.
An idea. Also, TikTok.
Something
people don't use TikTok enough, but yeah.
True.
Something that can work for like the in-person side of things was something we were discussing at a state meeting the other day, was doing a permablitz, which is a neat concept I learned about, where basically you get together with a bunch of friends and you go blitz an area and build a garden.
Ooh, garden building. That could be pretty fun.
I really like that idea.
Yeah, it seems like it would be fun and would attract media attention, especially if you do it in like area where you shouldn't be doing it probably, but yeah.
Also, just as I would never advocate for anyone to do anything remotely illegal, but I've heard that, for example, if someone were to be walking down the street and accidentally drop seeds to like some endangered plants that are protected by law into various areas, that those can't be uprooted.
There are local wildflowers you can get from your local nursery that are protected species.
That might have been the senior prank I pulled in high school on our rivals' football field. May have had some California poppies.
Did you ever follow up and see if they grew?
I did, and they did, but then somehow they got removed, and I was like, fuck. Like,
strange.
I'm turning you
They're
away.
more illegal than me. Oh, they do it.
Those are the votes that were, I bet that they're like, I bet they came across here on mules. Anyway.
All right. Any other ideas here? I'm loving kind of this flow of ideas we got going.
Don't forget the power of memes. Memes are very important. You should always be making memes. Not only is it actually hilarious, and it's always great when you drop a banger and a lot of people are like, wow, Banger King, I'm hungry. Can I order something? I thought I was at Banger King. This is my favorite restaurant. You know, people love it. It's incredibly fun. You can get like your friends to do it as well. And like custom memes for specific situations that you get into, or like common situations that people will know a little bit about or can always go pretty far. I mean, like in one like big scenario, if somebody is like if somebody's a little skeptical, I mean, look at like Jordan Peterson. Okay, there are so many people who had like a pretty good opinion of Jordan Peterson all the way up until the up yours, woke moralist. We'll see who cancels who. And, like, he's crying about getting banned on Twitter, and then literally everyone clowned on him. Everybody started making memes about it, and then he became less and less serious. Not to say that he's not like big still, but that definitely did a dent, and it definitely did change some people's minds on it. No matter, it doesn't matter if the meme is like top keck absolute heater, or if it's like a Facebook suburban mom minions meme, you know. Anything can really help, and the more you do it, the more and the better you get at it, and it's all incredibly fun. Especially dunking on people who are bad people who deserve it. That's really fun, and making a couple of jokes along the way will never get old.
Yeah,
We'll see who transels who.
Like I 100% agree with that. I think memes are like an underappreciated art form and motivator in politics. Like the whole the Donald subreddit thing before that got wiped off the face of the earth. I swear that was like an engine of like evil creation of memes to propel Donald Trump into the presidency. You know, like it's hard, like I don't know how to quantify, but it feels like it was pretty influential. And I also feel like a lot of people like started to come around a bit on Biden with the rise of like the Dark Brandon memes. I know that they're not like they aren't even like top tier memes, but it's just funny to imagine like Biden in that context. It's just like an inherently funny idea.
I think they are top tier memes. Like,
oh damn,
especially the ones where anything happens and it's like the picture of Biden like working out in the White House, and he's on the phone, and it's of the Pope, and he's like, yes, your holiness, trust has been taken care of, no, your holiness, they still think I'm senile. And it's those are great, those are amazing, you know. Dark Brandon acolytes have certified this banger. Like, those are all, and people love them. People genuinely, it made the news now. What's that again?
And Dank Brandon.
Dank Brandon.
Yeah, all of those are all of those are pretty good. And you can like even talk about things that actually happened, things that he actually did, in like a funny, jokey way, and it still gets the point across. It's actually pretty cool.
Yeah, I think it's effective. I've seen too many of them at this point to be like true kecking at them, but a lot of them were very good. What about what are some ideas that we could do like in person? One of the phrases that was kind of being thrown out during the meeting we had with kind of our media coordinator, I guess, was like some gonzo style coverage, like some kind of like on the ground, like grabbing attention, you know, kind of like creating the narrative that we want to put into the media that's going to grab attention.
Someone in my chat recommended earlier, like Trans Day of Remembrance protests, like ideally in front of offices that run on transphobia.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
that could be really good.
Yeah, anything.
Ironically, I can't remember.
Visual. Yeah, anything that creates like a visual guide. I mean, one thing I've seen, at least here in San Francisco, is that it's really big. Dia de los Muertos is really big. Mm-hmm. Day of the Dead. It's big in Mexican culture, and they host in a park in the Mission District. You can set up altars to honor the dead, and they usually each one is themed. And so I've done one before, and in this case, it wasn't just trans people, but we did it for mainly like LGBTQ plus icons who have since passed. And we made this big altar, this big art installation for them. So thinking about ways, I don't know, maybe in honor of like Dia de los Muertos, install like an altar to honor those who have fallen victim to transphobic violence, and do it in a really public place. Also, get to know your local reporters. Send them an email and say, hey, a bunch of us are going to be doing this. If you want to cover something that's happening in the local community. But yeah, anytime you can do a visual or artistic representation of something and do it in a heavily trafficked place, and even if you don't think any media will show up, reach out to them, especially if there's going to be you and a few friends or someone else doing it together, because they love that kind of content. Reach out, be proactive to get any sort of focus you can.
Yeah, especially if you live in a real sleepy town, like they ain't got nothing to cover. Like nobody wants to talk about how like the random kid mowed lawns for at a competitive price again. So yeah, that's something that you can really do. Typically they have like a public email or Twitter account where you can tell them what's going on, and just like a proof of concept that it worked. Like here in Kentucky, like even for people who aren't in Kentucky, everybody has probably seen a picture of the Breonna Taylor like memorial at Freedom at Justice Square in Louisville. That big the big circle with all of like the protester signs and the murals and the pictures and people standing around. Like people really it touches people in a different way when it's different from just like names on the screen or something. And it's something that you like walk by or you see in while you're reading like the local news, or something that you just hear of through the grapevine at work or something. And like getting like coworkers involved as well. Like you spend a lot of time at work, might as well like talk to them a little bit. I know here in the debate space, we me and my frogs, we talk about ways to like commonly combat like typical like right-wing talking points that you may just like casually overhear by like coworkers, and just hit them with a hit him right in the little forehead, just like there you go. Like you don't get to just say that. You don't just get to say that around me. Here's some pushback, all right? And even though it may not seem like that much, getting even like the little pushback and getting somebody to like think about it, especially if they haven't heard it before, because remember, a lot of these right-wingers can live in echo chambers, whether they mean to or not. It can make them think, and that can have like a ripple effect on like who they talk to, what they do. And once again, going to your local city council, school board meetings, as well, as a great thing. You should be doing it, and do it with many people. Pokemon Go to your school board meeting.
Yes.
So here's a thought. What if we combined a couple of these ideas into like something that we coordinated in different states wherever we are, right? So what if we combined like Trans Day of Remembrance protest with like that art idea you were talking about, Maddie? And also combined it kind of with guerrilla community building. Like we show up, coordinate some activities, and like take like little poster boards and like put it in the grass of like, here are people who have died because of your transphobic policies, or and like showed up at those offices to like do that as like kind of an act of protest. And like kind of doing it like at night so that it just kind of like shows up in the when the sun comes up. Yeah, be a little sneaky about it. Be a little some little sneaky guys.
Oh, also with
I
the
feel like I want it to
idea.
be shocking, you know? Like
Yeah.
I want it to be like at the level of like handcuffing yourself to the building level of shocking, or like splashing a bunch of red paint all over somewhere shocking.
You have to be very careful in some states, especially after 2020. They passed a bunch of laws that basically made it illegal to protest, and they can give you like it's less than you stay in jail at night. It's more of like an actual, you may have to like talk to your like human rights
lawyer
like, organization for like the things that they're going to try and do to you. So you have to be careful with that. On the garden idea, there are especially like elderly people and people who own property around your city, probably, that they're not doing much with, and you could like ask them to be like, hey, can you build a garden? And a lot of the times they'll be like, you know what, that seemed like a kind of cool idea. you know, and stuff like that, especially if you don't have your own land. I know we have
could
like a
also
lot of
kind of-
millennials and Gen Z here. We don't own property.
Right. And like actually something I was thinking of, not even just the blitzing and doing a garden, blitzing and doing community service. Target like where there's lower income housing or something, or target the local houseless camp and bring them resources and supplies.
Impromptu block party. You can show up, you can let them know, you put some letters in their mailboxes, and you can be like, or if they're actually like unhoused, if they're homeless, you can talk to them sometime, be like, hey, you guys want some food? And you can like show up and you can like make some hot dogs or something. You can make some food, you can give them some pizza,
And you
give out
also-
some like
you-
water and everything.
You also have to check and make sure with your local laws that giving food in an organized manner to homeless people isn't illegal, because that can
Insanity.
actually be illegal
True.
depending on where you are, which is
Genuine
fucking insane. But you gotta check your bases on that one too.
It's like, I'm just going to leave the peanut butter jelly sandwich in the Ziploc. I'm just going to put it on the sidewalk and walk away. And
And if we
then
all
come
do
what
it
may.
in 3.7 minute intervals, then they can't say it's organized.
Yeah.
Or just like look disheveled, and then you're like, you're going to accuse me of being organized?
Yeah, come
Yeah,
on.
I don't think so.
Yeah, don't take your ADHD medicine the night before, and then you physically cannot be organized. It'll be great.
Yeah, be a little spaced out.
These are all.
But I
great
love that.
ideas.
Also, look, if you're like, oh well, it's just me. How can I do something in my area? I don't really know anyone that can go with me. Get in touch with. There's always, whether I think Shark mentioned this earlier, but DSA is a great. They are pretty much have boots on the ground in every market in some capacity. That's a great place to start. They're also just like meetup groups and support groups for different things that can be great if you're like, hey, I'm thinking of doing some sort of demonstration, or I want to do something about this issue. You'd be surprised at just how many people will be like, hey, yeah, well, I'll reach out to our membership and see if there are people that want to participate or help. I mean, I even through organizing met this group of they're little ladies who meet up every week to knit, and they also are like socialists. So it's like little old socialist ladies who
Aw.
knit, and like and so in a few times I reach out and go, hey, could you reach out to like everyone in your network and see if they would want to participate in like this event, or we're having a rally for such and such candidate, and wanted to spread the word. So even like little groups like that that you may not immediately think would like participate, it never hurts to ask. Just ask. Cast a wide net.
Great ideas.
Yeah.
Very
you
good
listening, chat?
ideas. Yeah, there's a lot of that going on. What do you think we could do maybe online that we could bring in as many people as possible on? Like what would be some fun ideas to cause some good trouble,
Online? I don't know. Do I have anybody here who's like near Tennessee? Because I'm in Kentucky, and I'm not sure.
Somewhat.
I'm not sure if you've heard what Matt Walsh is planning to do. He's planning to have like a transphobic rally at the Tennessee legislature to push them to ban trans people from breathing. I'm being a little hyperbolic, but he wants to like ban
not too hyperbolic.
not that hyperbolic, if I'm going to be honest, but they want to like ban trans healthcare. And so that's like his big thing.
Probably.
And like he has I know for a fact I got like I can look back sometime and I can see that there are some actual politicians, state politicians who are planning to go there, and they want to like put through a bill. So maybe like pretending that, so if you're online and you're not around, pretending that you went and you're like, oh my gosh, I talked to Matt Walsh while I was there and I thought he was great until somebody told me about his thoughts on 16-year-olds and pregnancy. And I was like, and that's when I was like, I'm not sure if I can support this man.
Yeah.
So like taking up the psyop thing as well as something topical, if you all know about that, because it's not good. That's not good either.
True. I would just encourage people, if you are gonna do that, make sure that you are safe while doing it. Make sure you have a couple people to be able to pull you out if something goes bad.
I mean like online, not if you're actually going. If you're actually going,
gotcha.
Go with like a buddy. All right.
Yeah.
Don't go alone. Those people are dangerous.
Yeah.
They're animals. Not really. I don't believe they're actually animals. That's disrespectful to animals.
Yeah. Animals would never be transphobic.
That's true.
They never would.
No.
Imagine my dog being phobic of any kind is just giving her a little too much credit.
Aw.
It's some racist dogs out there.
There are some racist dogs. That's true. My dog is equal
I had to
opportunity.
break one of it.
If you got treats, you're in.
Yeah. Let's see. What else we got? We got counter protest, anti-trans rallies, or online, impromptu block party feeding, guerrilla art protest, telethon, phone banking stream.
Also washing homeless people's dogs if you can, like giving them baths. Like going out there, and if you can get like some water or something, or if you can get into a little good trouble, open up like a fire hydrant, and get some buckets and help like wash some homeless people or poor people's dogs to make sure that they can stay safe and everything. Give like donating like pet supplies, dog food, stuff like that, brushes, if they need it, because their little buddies need help too.
Or
Exactly.
like the anti-flea tick heartworm medication that can often be really it's like prescription, and it can be really expensive and prohibitive even for people who are housed but like don't have disposable
It's like
income.
$40-something dose.
That's kind of expensive.
Yeah. So yeah, but like it would be just if you can afford it, or if you have access to that would be super helpful. I love that idea.
Yeah, there are some other ideas too. Like if you just want to like build community where you are, like that I think where it's really like look at what your set of skills are, and kind of figure out how you might be able to use those just to help other people in your like. There are people who can cut hair, giving like offering homeless people like a free haircut, like can be actually really helpful.
Actually,
if you have like the ability to do that, or like again, one of the
only if you actually have the ability.
Yes. Oh, please don't just go out there and like cut their hair for practice.
Like don't give them a whack hairline. Like
yeah, they're
don't,
already unhoused. Okay, they don't need more problems on top of that.
Yeah.
All right. If I was homeless,
so bad.
I already got enough problems. I'll need a bad haircut too.
But like also similar to kind of like the like throwing like an impromptu block party and like feeding folks. Like one of my favorite things out of like the BLM protests was reading about kind of the rise of riot ribs. Do you guys remember that?
I haven't seen that.
Oh, it was essentially like volunteers who would go out and like just make ribs for protesters and like make really delicious food and just like give it out for free to protesters. And like that's a great use of your skills. Like can you cook up some good stuff? Do you have the means to like give that out? Like that'd be tight as hell. Feed your protesters.
Like Jose Andres going to all
if you're a tradesman,
disaster areas.
Yeah. Or Guy Fieri.
Yeah. That's right.
Go ahead.
That's right.
If you're a tradesperson and maybe you live in an area lucky enough, as I just found out, we have a tool library here in which they even have like sewer machines. Like, so that would be like, I could literally grab a friend and go do someone's, plumbing, because
my name
they
back
have
in
all
high
the
school.
tools that I would need, and I did plumbing for 10 years. I don't have to own any of them, which is pretty handy. Then you're using a community resource to help other community members.
Yeah,
Pretty sick.
that is pretty sick.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
Another thing, and this is just like a little thing, but like if you're in like a community and you don't have like extensive skills that you can think of like a way to use, one of the really great things you can do is set up like those little free libraries that are kind of like popular right now. And I know that might not seem like a lot, but then you can put like some subversive literature in there. Like throw in some of those Marlon Bundo books about gay bunnies, or like
or if you can, since a lot of like conservative states have been doing a bunch of like book banning and book burning, you can you can set up like the banned book like
a
truck
little
or
banned
something,
book
or like
library.
banned book like library, where you're like, this is what they don't want you to see, that type of stuff. Literature is so dangerous that they had to ban it.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Essentially do your own version of like that teacher in Kansas who gave out like the QR code for, do you guys know what I'm talking about? Like the library QR code for a bunch of books that have been banned.
I didn't see that, but
Yeah, I
that's a
saw
good
that.
idea.
Yeah,
I
like
vaguely remember.
legislators in Kansas are like trying to like make it illegal so that they can prosecute what that teacher did, which is insane.
Cringe.
Trying to retroactively like make a law now, so I don't think you can do that, but I have been wrong before.
I mean,
You would think
normally
not.
When like in like the before times, you couldn't, but who knows?
Did we all just grow up with a fake idealized version of America, and it's actually always been like psychotically fascist and terrible, and they were just getting away with it because we didn't have the internet?
By the
Like
way,
filming it on their phone. Yeah.
by the way, just for all of you to share with your chats in the in the show Discord channel, I posted a link to Literary Hub, and Literary Hub has the QR code that allows you access to the Books Unbanned portion of the Brooklyn Public Library. So you can all share that with your chats as well. And speaking of maybe some good trouble, wouldn't be too terrible if someone turned that into a sticker to throw up basically anywhere. Just throwing that out there.
What did you send this?
Yeah.
In the Transl Culture Discord, in the show stream chat. It's right above voice channels.
Oh my gosh. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Ooh, also speaking of like writing and books, write an editorial or write a letter to the editor or your local newspaper. You'd be shocked at how easy it is to get certain things published.
Oh, God.
But yeah, so like if you ever read through your local newspaper and you see the kinds of like letters to the editor or other things that they deem worthy of publishing, can't hurt. Not bad.
I mean, have you guys, like, folks, if you've ever seen how hungry local newspapers are for content, yeah, like you have a decent shot. Like, sure, the bigot down the street who's 80 years old and has infinite free time essentially has like a daily column in that paper, but they want to publish someone new. I guarantee you.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And go for the local paper. Don't like the bigger ones. It's trickier to get in, but like also the local ones, you're going to be reaching people in your area, in your community. So it's a little easier.
I'm going to take this moment, my dear friends, to dip out. I got to get some stuff figured out with my car. It's been so wonderful hanging out with you all, though. And I'm looking forward to the next one.
Yeah.
No problem. Take care.
Yeah,
It's good to meet you.
and
was fun.
before you go, give yourself a little shout out. Where can people
Final
find you? What do you
plugs.
do?
Yeah, I'm Luxander. I'm on YouTube, not on Twitch, streaming about politics and generally trans-related news, and funneling things through a very specific lens, just like every other news does. Except I'm transparent about that fact. So come hang out with us on Tuesdays, Thursdays, and coming soon again with the Sunday streams after I'm done with my seasonal part-time job this weekend at Ye Old Renaissance Fair. So yeah, thank you all again for hanging out with me, and yeah, we'll see you next time.
Thank you so much.
Take
See
care.
ya.
Bye.
They work at a Renaissance fair? That's awesome. Because the Renaissance
Yeah,
fair is in town here, and I'm gonna force my husband to go with me.
Yeah, Luxander is dope as hell. Highly recommend everyone check out their content. Also, we should be having some more people hopping in here in the near future. We're about to. I mean, according to what people told me, we're all about to pop off. So we'll see. And yeah, Aaron Green, feel free to hop in whenever you like. I'm just going to do we have any more thoughts about like organizing? Any closing thoughts people would like to share?
Ben, just give it a try, even if you're shy. I promise some of my best canvassers are introverts. You don't have to be talkative to be great at voter engagement and just hearing people out. So
Make sure to meet, or make sure to be available to meet your cohort. If you're in an area, canvassing and whatnot, try to meet the other volunteers, because that'll make it a lot easier to get out there and do it more. Once you know who you can reach out to and be like, hey, I want to go do something, but I don't have anyone to do it with. Are you available today? And yeah, that's building relationships is how you build movements.
Awesome.
Yeah, I mean, like, when I went to go to that Starbucks union, I met a lot of people from the Louisville Socialist Party and the Tenants Union and DCA, DSA. And so, yeah, you can really do a bit of networking there. You can meet some cool people. All it takes is a tiny conversation. You're going to be standing next to them for a little while. We might as well like spark up a little something like, what do you do? And hey, listen, if you're an introverted person, that's all you got to really ask. Okay, what do you do? Especially if they do organizing, the likelihood of them just gonna talk at you for a while is pretty high. So you don't even have to do that much talking yourself. You could just kind of listen. You're probably good at it anyway. So
Yes, indeed. I think we actually came up with a really good list of ideas, and I'm going to send that over so it can just kind of be shared with like the rest of the Progressive Victory Discord. Because I think these are things that a lot of us can act on either on our own, or we can like plan together to be a bit more coordinated with our nefarious helping of our fellow human beings. So we're going to be having, it looks to be, we're going to be having the Ranting Trans hop on, and we are also going to be having Ravana hop on in just a couple minutes. I need to use the bathroom, but before that, I'm going to do our call to action. Okay. So, folks, if any of these ideas sound really good and fun and exciting to you, if the idea of like fighting for trans rights and actually like doing something makes you like feel just a little bit of hopium, well, that's the goal. The goal is to help you realize how much agency and how much power you actually have in your communities and in your political, because everything right now is designed by people with money and power to make you forget how much power you actually have, how much agency you actually have. And so the goal here is to get involved volunteering to actually change people's, hearts and minds, to actually get out there and like do something that improves your community, whether it's, guerrilla building a garden of like endangered plants, or like building like building a garden that can provide food for local community, or like just going out there and like putting up some art for people to remind people that like trans people exist and deserve love and respect. Or like even if or propagating like banned books and like banned literature so that people actually can still access them in hostile communities. So if any of that sounds interesting, we are more empowered to do that together than we are by ourselves. So I would highly recommend you use !map in chat to head over to transculture.com, where you can fill out a form that allows you to put in some basic information about like who you are, what you're interested in doing, whether it's text banking, phone banking, canvassing, or something else. You can fill out that form, get involved that way. That really, really helps us out. So please do that. And then head over to the Progressive Victory 2022 Discord, where you can get trained into how to do those things better, or even get more involved in state and local campaigns. Maybe your skill set is related to like event coordinating or something. Guess what? You can be put to work for that. Like, there are different things that you can do that are immensely, immensely helpful. And we need all the help we can get. So head on over there, !victory in chat to get to the Progressive Victory Discord. And also, if you want to take some immediate action online now to help protect trans rights, !health will take you to the will basically take you to protecttranshealth.org, which is basically facilitating public comment in favor of the Biden administration's proposed protections for trans people in healthcare settings. So you can do that right now and comment in support of that, and it will be immensely helpful. And on top of that, if you're trans, use !survey and take the US trans survey, just so we get better information on trans people, so we know better how to help trans people. That's basically what we want you to do. And with that, I am going to throw it over to Shark to get us kicked off on the next hour-ish segment, which is, again, talking about the races, what's going down. And I'm going to get Muppet in here, or Ranting Trans. Okay, I will be right back. Need to use the bathroom.
One moment. It was talking about Pennsylvania, Georgia, Arizona. It's the 6 p.m., right?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. You got it.
All right. You can get out of here. All right, everyone. This is my ship now. How are y'all doing? Y'all surviving the panel so far?
Yeah, pretty good.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah,
it's good. It's good to know you all, Maddie. I think I've spoken to you before. I'm not sure if we follow each other on Twitter or anything. I forget, but
we're in a group chat together, I think. But
that's where I remember you.
I'm going to follow you now.
That's what I remember you. It's the stinky little like lefty Twitter group chat where they love to act a fool. I do too. So
yeah, it's a good time.
Yeah, it is
exactly.
It is
That's why and I think we may have been on a panel at one point together, but like who knows? We've both been on a lot of panels. So
that's true. Back in the old
seen...
panel day. Also, bless you.
Oh, that's my
I've
husband.
seen Maddie Cake somewhere before. I can't remember where though.
Been on a lot of random things, but yeah. I haven't been streaming as much because I got married earlier this year, and then B, because it's an election year. So thank you. Cool. But yeah, been a little busy. So
hello, Aaron. Glad to have you.
Hi, how's it going?
Hello.
Good. Can you shout yourself out? Can you tell us a little bit about yourself? It's like the first day back in high school, and then pronouns as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Hi, I'm Aaron. I do a little YouTube thing that I call Trans in the AM. I like to talk about trans news and interview trans people about their experiences and stuff like that. I stream on Twitch, and I'm I'm a niche internet micro celebrity on Twitter. I like to shit post, so that's a lot of fun.
Hey, shit posting is powerful and meme magic is real, so that's an amazing thing. I'm glad
True.
you do that. We just talked about that.
Yeah.
Hello, Ray. Nice to see you. Your makeup's looking great today.
Oh, thank you. Hello, everybody. I'm happy to be here.
Hi.
So Ray, can you tell us your name? Tell us a little bit about you, pronouns as well.
Yes, I am Rayvana. I stream on Twitch, twitch.tv/Rayvana. I work in disability rights law. I do civil rights law. And I have a show on TYT called Reactions. I use she, her pronouns. And yeah, I'm excited.
Great. I had a feeling you had pronouns. After you said that you worked for TYT, I'm like, this person probably's got pronouns. He's got a
I have pronouns, but no blue hair. Working on that. So that's next.
One day.
Blue hair is so based.
Muppet, are you here? They are loading, but I'm not sure.
I am trying to load in. I am very bad with technology.
Sure, no problem.
Don't worry.
Okay.
I guess whenever you feel ready, the same thing. Tell us a little bit about yourself, your name, and pronouns as well.
Yes, I will. I will try to do that in 1 second as soon as I figure out how to work this computer spare.
No problem. All right. So, moving on to our next amazing, incredible topic. Pennsylvania, Georgia, Arizona, North Carolina, and Wisconsin. What do you think that we can do to help forward trans legislation? And I want to broaden it a little bit out to like competitive states, states that anybody could be in, states that have been like hot topics for anti-trans legislation. What are some inroads that you can do collectively with organizing to help change the agenda? Because as well as even though it's not here and it's not really a competitive state, I don't think they have any senators up for election, but Tennessee is another state as well where there's going to be a lot of like anti-trans legislation coming down, and wherever anybody may be, whether that be local or state. What are your all's ideas about that, where how we can like tip the scales in races and collectively do something to make a change? Anyone can start.
I would argue in like Pennsylvania. I know you didn't mention PA by name, but we have the governorship up with a heavily Republican state house, and like having that Democratic governor has been, the one thing keeping, a lot of the protections that are in place in the cities here in place. The state's not passed any legislation to ban anything for us, but at the same time it's not been able to pass any to help us because of the Republican state house. And there are a lot of races that are close or very important nonetheless in Pennsylvania, most of which seem to be in the Philadelphia region. So getting volunteers out to that area is going to be very helpful to turn the tide in a lot of races.
Yeah, just to sort of echo, getting involved at the local level. So even when maybe the focus is on the Senate race or even like a House race, the impact that you can have as a volunteer when you put your energy towards a city council race, a school board race, a mayorship, that bubbles upward. And the more you mobilize those voters to vote for those local candidates and drive turnout there, that only helps further upward. And again, you have such a bigger impact on those smaller races, because as a function of just being a smaller race, not as many people are going out there and dedicating their time and energy to volunteering. So yeah, look at those races in your local community and get involved however you can, whether that's canvassing phone banking, showing up to an event, anything, because that impact will be felt.
Yeah. Just to jump off that, it's also important. A lot of organizations put out voting guides because a lot of people will get to the polls. And when it comes to those less covered local and state elections, you're going to open up your ballot and say, oh, what the fuck is a water reclamation district? How am I supposed to know who to vote for when it comes to this? Which I mentioned specifically because actually here in Chicago, we had a trans woman running for the water reclamation district, and she was the only trans candidate on the ballot. And I knew that because of the voting guide. So I got to vote for her. Otherwise, I would have had no idea. But so getting people in contact with these voting guides so that they know who to vote for, but also just encouraging organizations to put out voting guides so that it makes life so much easier going into the polls, because a lot of people don't have a lot of time to do extensive, thorough research, but there's organizations that do dedicate time to doing that. So that just eases your voting experience and it just streamlines the process.
That as well, a little bit on that, okay? Because this is something that we're going to have to deal with this election cycle and probably election cycles in the future, which is, and probably in the past as well, but prominent here for something that's topical, which is some votes being purposefully in like you can't understand them. They purposely wrote them like that. Purposefully, like the reasoning is backwards to get you to be tricked into voting a certain way over others. It's like, do you want this thing to happen? Instead of it being like a yes or no, do you want this to be not changed in a way that would do this or that, or just like little tricks of words that would make this or that happen? What the yes or no would be is something that you may not, which you may be confused by. And so that the big thing that they're doing there is when it comes to abortion votes and whether or not your state is going to be banning abortion or putting like abortion into the like anti-abortion like laws into the Constitution or something. I know here in Kentucky, like there was a voting guide that came out not too long ago. So if you're a Kentucky voter, vote no on Amendment 2. It's no on 2. I think it's hashtag no on 2. If you want to know how to vote, if you want to make sure that abortion is not banned in the state, because that's an important thing. And so you need to make sure that you look out for that. They're going to be doing it with trans people and trans rights as well. But the big thing that they're doing it with is abortion access at the moment. You're going to be, and like, just make sure that you know that your state, if it's going to do it or not, because not only do you need to know that they're going to do it, you need to know how to vote, because they're going to try and trick you. And the last thing you want to do is have your super sick queer flags in your bio and then accidentally vote in favor of banning abortion and trans rights, right? And that sucks. I'm not saying it's your fault. I'm just saying that you have to be diligent.
Yeah, I think disseminating that information is very important. If we can like especially stay on top of that and help disseminate that for like viewers and other people and stuff like that, then I think that would be a really good resource for us.
I actually put together, I did this in 2020 as well. I put together a voter guide for all the propositions on California's ballot, because they are, as Shark said, intentionally vague and confusing. And this was pre-streaming days for me. I did it for my family and friends because I was like, hey, I keep getting questions because people know that I volunteer a lot and stuff. And like, I might as well just put this all out. And I think I posted it on like my Facebook, and it got such good reception. I made another one for this year and posted it on all my socials. But that, like, if you can do one for you like personally, then that's really helpful. But like, there's so many organizations that do it anyway. And you know, if people are looking for a testimonial for whether or not they should support something, the best way to get a better sense of that without having to do the research themselves is look to an organization with whom you feel your values are aligned, or where you trust their instincts on these kinds of things. Look for who's endorsed one way or the other on those proposals or measures, or however they're labeled on your ballot. But yeah, make a guide if you can, and if not, there are so many great guides out there.
Also, I want to jump in for a second. Muppet, hello. Everything's working?
Yes, it's finally working. Sorry about that.
No problem. Amazing. I just wanted to check in on you. Now, could we get a name? A little bit about yourself, pronouns. Also, welcome back, Jack. I guess I'll throw it back to you.
Hi.
Yeah. So I'm Jasmine, also known as Ranting Trans. She, her, or she, they pronouns. Yeah, I am a streamer. I'm also, I guess, kind of a micro celebrity on Twitter. Yeah, and I actually am Australian, but American politics unfortunately impacts a lot of democracy and human rights around the world. So it's very unfortunate that American politics is something that we have to keep up on, even abroad. So yeah, that's just kind of why I'm here. Show like international support for everything that happens, because you have a lot of knock-on effects from your politics.
Yeah, sorry about exporting our political turmoil to the rest of the world. Also, thank you so much for joining us. So, like,
Having me.
yeah, it's great to have you here, and it is also worth noting, because I know we have people from all different parts of the United States and the world who are involved in this, and in our audiences. But it's worth noting again, everyone can participate in what we're putting together here. So even if you are in Australia, in the UK, in India, or China, like, you can join the Progressive Victory Discord, and you can participate in phone banking, text banking, and even in-person canvassing if you happen to be present in the United States. And that can help, like, turn political campaigns. I have double and triple checked. I've been assured by our local Maddie that is acceptable politically, and so I just want to remind people that if you are looking on in horror and feeling disempowered as someone outside the United States, there are things you can be doing to change the political situation in the United States. So
You can't vote.
Yeah.
You can't vote.
No voting.
Probably.
No
but
donating money.
absolutely help. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, and can't donate money either. That is another
Big no-no.
stipulation. You
Yep.
can donate your time.
Yep. And honestly, that's like one of the most important things to donate, because like phone banking and text banking, like, is a numbers game. And so, like, donating your time to do that is going to change minds statistically. You are going to be reaching people, and every time you reach a household, every time you reach one person, you reach that person's household too, and statistically are more likely to change the political makeup of that household. So oftentimes, like, a conversation with one person might actually be getting 4 or 5 votes, not just one vote. So just things to think about. If you got the time and you got the energy, all of these things help, like, bring progressives to the forefront of U.S. politics, which I think makes the world a slightly better place. Maybe, hopefully.
I think it can.
Yeah.
America's part of the world, so
We are one chunk.
We do our best to pretend we're not, though.
Or we like to pretend we're the entire world.
That's true.
Like we're the only world. Sorry again for that.
So I was gone in the bathroom. Were we just finishing up introductions?
Oh, we were already in.
Oh, okay.
You can give your idea.
Oh, wait, what's my idea?
Oh, on how
On
we
what?
can on what you can do when it comes to organizing to help push forward trans rights and help stop the right on their path of villainy.
Oh, well, I think one of the best things you can do also is just be informed about, like, the different races and the different conflicts that are happening, just because, you know, sure, it's G.I. Joe, but you know what? Knowledge is power. Knowledge is half the battle. I'm sure they said that on G.I. Joe at some point. And
Captain Planet too.
Captain Planet, yeah. And I think being informed is, like, the first step to making, like, good decisions on how to intervene or how to take your next steps, right? Like a lot of what we were just talking about in the previous hour was talking about what you can do in your local community. Well, that also depends on knowing your local community, right? Knowing the needs of your local community, knowing like the political makeup of your local community. So like that knowledge is directly something that can inform your actions, your community organizing, etc. Also, hi Ravana. Hi Aaron.
Hi.
Also, since we have a lot of new people here, we can also throw our conversation back to our different takes on the different political races that are happening right now, whether they are, Georgia, Arizona, North Carolina, etc. The different swing races that we are trying to focus on. And the state of just kind of the campaigns, the candidates in those races. To kind of kick that off, like I know that I was pretty upset at the recent NBC interview with John Fetterman. It was like I watched the entire thing, and it was actually really distressing how they were trying to make him out to be like feeble-minded and like trying to use his lack of like he's been recovering from a stroke, but he's clearly still like sharp. He's not like his cognition isn't impacted. It's just his ability to speak quickly and eloquently. Skills. Yeah, his motor skills need to like have time to retrain. Yeah. And so like it was really disgusting to see the NBC interview just like attacking him on basically every single point, like trying to remember when you chased a black man with a shotgun, and like completely leaving out of the fact that like that guy who got chased with a shotgun from like 10 years ago recently came out to campaign for John Fetterman. It was an obvious attempt to like smear him and get clips, and it was really upsetting. Not because it was like trying to call him on shit, but because of the very obvious ideological slant to the interview. And I think that indicates just how establishment Dems are not that big of a fan of progressive challengers like Fetterman, who have an actual shot at obtaining a seat of power in U.S. politics. And I think that's just an indicator of how we need to turn out more to support John Fetterman when he's getting that institutional pushback.
Because he was not the establishment's preferred candidate. They were running someone else, backing someone else in that primary. So they didn't even want him in the first place. But yeah, that interview was, as a disabled person, as someone who works in disability rights advocacy, it was disgusting. Because even, let's say John Fetterman never fully recovers from a stroke and he always has to use a live captioning device. Who cares? Yeah, that's like the way that she framed it was, when he didn't have the captioning device on, he wasn't fully able to understand me. I'm like, okay, are you going to give Stevie Wonder a book not written in Braille and then say he didn't do a very good job reading it? Are you going to take away Tammy Duckworth's wheelchair and then say she's not doing a very good job at getting around Congress? Like, it's just an accessibility tool that he needs to utilize, whether it's for just now or for the rest of his life. It doesn't matter. It's a ridiculous way, a very ableist way to frame it, essentially, because disabled people a lot of times just have to use accessibility tools to navigate situations that able-bodied people take for granted every single day. And that was just an example of it. But it's also, I think you're exactly spot on, Jack, emblematic of the fact that the establishment is not the friend of progressives, and progressives are the people who are actually going to fight for these issues that impact people every single day, impact the trans community, disabled community, the broader queer community, people of color. And, so we really have to put up a fight, because we're not just fighting against the right wing, we're fighting against the moneyed interests within the Democratic Party, the establishment of the Democratic Party and the media, who don't want to see this massive change that the people want to see.
Yeah, it's and also like as if people don't know what closed captioning is. right? Like as if these people aren't going home after at the end of a long day and turning on the new Game of Thrones show and immediately turning on the captioning because they can't hear what's going on over the sound of like.
Yeah.
I haven't been watching the show. I'm assuming like weird incest and medieval battle noises, like some combination of those two.
Yeah, and like poorly lit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean, those people use teleprompters on their shows. She was using a teleprompter on that on the second part, not the interview itself, but when she was talking to him after the fact. So it's just so offensive to act as though this accessibility feature is just the it's emblematic of the fact that he is, you know, like you said, feeble or an invalid or something, when it's like you are also reading off of, you're looking down during the interview at your notes, reading off a piece of paper. How is what he's doing any different?
Literally every television news anchor, when they're reading the news, they're reading it from a teleprompter, so that like it's just crazy too, because some of the press coverage afterwards or her comments afterwards, really the whole crux of that like faux outrage or shock was, can you believe that he had to use this thing? And it's like, but we don't. Rivana, I think you put it perfectly. It's like we would never question it if it were someone who needed a interpreter because they're deaf, or if like they were sight impaired or had any other form of disability that required an assistant, some form of accessibility, like some sort of modification to ensure that they can be accommodated. Like it's so stupid and blatantly ableist. And it just makes me wonder, like, did NBC think this was going to be some sort of like gotcha? What the hell were they thinking? Because all it shows is just a complete disregard for the humanity of anyone who has any form of disability.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Maddie, didn't you know that if someone gets hit by a bus and needs crutches afterwards, that makes them totally unfit to be a U.S. senator? Apparently, totally disqualifying.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's like, oh, really? Like you had to get your legs amputated? Sounds lazy. Sounds like your legs quit, and I don't want to quit her.
Yeah, sounds like you can't pull yourself up by your bootstraps anymore.
Yeah, it's absurd. It's absurd.
Didn't we
like
have...
I have this?
Sorry.
Oh, sorry. Go for it.
Oh, I was just gonna say, didn't we have like a president that like was in a wheelchair all the time?
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Yeah. No, I was gonna say my dad's disabled. My dad has was diagnosed with early onset Parkinson's when I was really little, and he's had it for my entire life. And so it's one of those diseases where it's progressively degenerative, or it just like you progressively deteriorate, but his mind is intact. So I really feel for Fetterman, because like with him, like with my dad, his mind is just as sharp as it's ever been, but he has trouble articulating and getting the words out, or you can't hear him because his voice is really soft now. He can't project. And to think someone could see that as evidence of incompetency, or trying to portray him as some sort of like as an invalid because of this thing he had no choice in, that just it simply affects how he can express himself. And I don't see anyone poo-pooing any of the senators who have to wear like a hearing aid. You know, it just, again, it blows my mind. And I just want to, I don't know, I want to like shake someone at NBC and be like, the fuck were you thinking? How did you think this was going to end up?
Especially because it was picked up by right-wing media. Tucker Carlson took it and ran with it. He said on his show the other day, where does the machine end? And John Fetterneck, he called him Fetterneck, begin. And it was just the most, and he somehow then turned it into an attack on autism and Greta Thunberg.
Jesus, what?
It just descended into absolute madness. It was the most infuriating segment. And that's, I mean, not the most infuriating segment he's ever done, but it was egregious.
Also, it's a bit odd because I feel like I feel like attacking John Fetterman is kind of like attacking Andre the Giant. It's like, oh, you're gonna criticize that man's appearance? Dude, he can like literally pick you up like a ragdoll and rip you in half. Like, what are you talking about? Like, he's really nice
with his stupid muscles, being all tall.
Yeah,
I mean, he did like Oz is always making fun of him. He's like he dresses like he's homeless. He dresses like a thug when he's just wearing like basketball shorts and a hoodie because that's probably all that fits him since he's 27 feet tall.
People love that about him.
That's the cool thing about him is that he's got tattoos and he's sick and he does policy and he's just like me for real. You know, when he goes into the it's the unironic like blue collar. He just like me for real. You know, and like Dr. Oz when he's talking in front of Adolf Hitler's car and and killing puppies and like wearing a suit and talking down on like poor people and people who are overweight, like honestly that's not gonna win you very many votes. And
getting the largest fine in history for using undocumented workers and then withholding wages from them, like and his 12 houses across that's relatable. I'm sure that people of Pennsylvania can relate to this exceptionally rich man who doesn't even live in their state versus John Fetterman, who literally is just like the any guy's guy.
Yeah.
John Fetterman lives in a former car dealership. That's his house. It's a former car dealership. They converted into this dope, like industrial modern loft in what otherwise was a very economically downtrodden area, and like it was abandoned, and he bought it, and that's like where they live. And I don't know. Again, it's just so stupid, and it's like I don't know who relates to Dr. Oz in any capacity unless
Rich
you're
people.
like a yeah, exactly.
Yeah, no, like Dr. Oz is the equivalent of like he just like me for real, but for rich people. Because you know they make a habit of also giving talks in front of Hitler's car and eating like way too fancy crudités. What I don't even know what that is. Crudité. I don't even know what that is.
My wife sent me out for crudités.
It's a fancy way of saying a veggie and dip plate.
It's celery, carrots, and ranch is what it is.
He also said the name of the grocery store wrong, which was awesome. Everyone was just like, you don't even know the name of the grocery store you're shopping at.
He doesn't even shop for himself.
I was gonna say Dr. Oz like 1,000% doesn't buy his own groceries. Let's be honest. Like he sends someone to do that for him.
Yeah.
That's funny because actually the last part, there was one segment my dad remembers, and this is part of what turned him into being a Democrat. Hooray, Dad. And it was George Bush Sr. going to a supermarket and this is in the 90s, and being fascinated by the checkout where he's like, really, you just scan it and it just takes care
of it.
He was fascinated by it. And my dad was like, that was the first time I really like stood back and was like, is he so far removed from any like normal human thing, like just middle class things, that he's never even seen like a scanner at a checkout, because like he just has never had to shop for himself. And I kind of had that same feeling with Oz, where it's like, wait, this is how you think like everyday like this is what you think it is to like connect with the everyman, the everywoman, because yikes.
Yeah, no, like I swear, like I think a lot of people in America specifically kind of forget how out of touch rich people are. Like how like the rich person experience is totally divorced from like the working class experience.
Oh, yeah.
Like if you are rich, you have no idea how like working people live. Maybe you've stepped into a Cub Foods like one time, okay? like if you're rich, you got people to buy your groceries for you. You got people to groom your dog for you. You got people to like do basically every little thing for you. You are doing all of that.
You haven't had to like collect a bunch of quarters to like then go down to the laundromat. and do all your laundry. And
You've never cursed the sky because you forgot your quarter while you were going to shop at Aldi. So you had to wait and ask someone to put it in so you could get a card.
Yep.
Yeah.
Can't pick up a card. Never had the experience of you thought that it was going to be enough, but then tax was you forgot, like tax came up a little bit, and then you're like a little short, and now you have to like put something back, right? And then you're like holding up the line because you can't afford it. Yeah,
I've never mind. I don't really need those lemons. I'm sorry.
Anybody ever been like, I'm not sure if I can afford that? Then you like sneakily try and like put it somewhere on a shelf and walk.
Yeah.
Yep. Or like where you do the math if it has the certain discount that you think it does, and then they're just like, oh no, that actually applies to something different. You didn't read that right, and you're just like, okay,
Oops.
and you're doing the math in your head. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Especially right now with the inflation on groceries, particularly, it's the number one issue for Americans voting this upcoming election is inflation. So it's important to continue to for organizations and individuals to put pressure on the Democratic Party right now while they still have a majority and Joe Biden will be president for the next 2 years after this, but to use his executive authority to be passing relief to people before the election, because that is going to be a huge impact on how a lot of people are going to cast their ballots, or for organizers and people on the ground to be reminding the people that they are organizing it, and if you're canvassing the houses you're going to, that, hey, the Republicans will never give you any relief. I know it seems right now like the Democrats haven't, but we just need a bigger mandate to be able to pass better relief so that we can bring these prices down so that you're not struggling at the grocery stores. I mean, it's concerning to me that they're not doing as much as they should be. Genuinely, it's horrifying. If they want to win in November, you have to be, at this point, you have to be sending checks. You just got to be sending people checks. You got to be giving people money directly into their pockets. But any sort of relief that they can pass is going to be so influential on the way that people are voting. And it's, we're talking about the economics of it, but having more progressives in the Senate and Congress is going to impact the way that legislation about trans rights is going to be able to pass, disability rights. There's right now, they are arguing about this relief that was supposed to be given to Black and brown farmers in the South who had been historically discriminated against, that was gutted from the bill that was passed. So now they're arguing in court to get that back. But all of these things are going to be able to be passed with a mandate if we can have this massive blue wave in November. And the midterms are something that people usually are not as focused on as presidential elections, but they are just as important.
One of the elements of that too that I've been paying attention to is that there is kind of this conventional wisdom within the Democratic mainstream establishment that if we spend money on people, it will look like we're buying votes or something like that. And conservatives,
I love buying votes.
Well, conservatives will also rail against Biden for giving out all that money. One of the interesting things that I stumbled across while I was kind of looking up dirt on the races that we're covering, right, is in, I believe, Georgia, Brian Kemp had $4.8 billion of COVID relief allotted to the state, and as the midterms are approaching, he allocated all but $150 million of it. Literally $4.35 billion he allotted, leaving nothing. Keep in mind, not all of it was not even, it didn't have to be spent until 2026. Okay. He just took that giant chunk of money and was like, we got to use it all just in case Abrams gets into office. Just to spite Stacey Abrams' slim possibility of taking the governorship, he allocated all of that money to things like police bonuses, some infrastructure projects, and some program with debit cards for low-income Georgians, which I have no problem with. I haven't looked into it exactly, but I hope that that's helping low-income Georgians and not just essentially giving them like cards that are going to put them deeper in debt. I have no idea. I need to look more into that story. But I just found it really interesting that, like, you know, while Democrats largely seem to be kind of cowed by the criticism of Republicans when it comes to like, oh, you're just spending all this money to buy votes. Republicans will do it on a much more massive scale, and no one will say diddly. You know, like this is just something that happens all the time. And like, while Brian Kemp spends that money, he also, you know, will rail against how the federal government relief bill in of itself that gave him that money to spend is wasteful, and also argue that Georgia should receive more of that money. Like it's actually like just mind-bogglingly inconsistent in that regard, and it's like just spend the money on the things that people need. Like, people in Georgia are suffering. People in Georgia need to be able to buy that food. They need to be able to like afford rent. And like, you're just kind of spitting in the face of like programs that would actually help them do that.
I think like one of the most interesting and probably like truest like political quotes that I've heard in a little while is the big one of the I'm editing it a little bit because I don't think it's the biggest, but one of the biggest things that holds the Democrats back is they have an expectation, is that the American people have an expectation that they're going to do something, and the Republicans don't. Like, when the Republicans get into office, people don't really expect them to like do anything. They don't really expect much from them. But when Democrats get into office, now we talk about, I mean, just remember the 2020 election. Remember how like the biggest thing for like Democratic voters and just voters was like, oh, policy. It was pretty cool, right? For the first time, it was like policy, and that was the big thing. And what was it for the conservatives? A taco shop popped up in your in your neighborhood. It's unrecognizable, and
tacos stand on every corner.
Yeah, trans people exist.
It's my dream.
you know, that's and that's what they basically talked about, and then they stopped any other person from being able to contend with Donald Trump in a meaningful way whatsoever, right? And so like they don't really care about that. I think the biggest thing that you can probably do for your average person is tell them how much Republicans have destroyed their lives, okay? Because like I don't need to dox myself, but I'm in Kentucky, and I'm not too far away from West Virginia. You know, West Virginia, a place where 90% of it looks like they haven't even recovered from the Great Depression, let alone the Great Recession. Eastern Kentucky as well, it looks pretty bad. And we've had conservatives in office for forever. They just don't care. They never have cared. They never will care. They're not going to do anything for you, and they're just using these culture war issues to just deflect from the fact that they're stealing their children's futures from them out the back door. And so like probably the biggest thing that you can do is just talk to them about how they've just done nothing for them, and even like actively made their lives worse. I mean, you can talk about that. I mean, we can talk about like Mississippi as well, where at least bad, but at least like Georgia spent the money. They did something with it. In Mississippi, you know what they did with all of their infrastructure money that they got from like the Biden administration? Nothing.
What?
They did literally
Damn.
nothing. It's literally just sitting there. And you know the Jackson water problem, the water issue that they have, where they turn their water faucet and they're getting like a secret chocolate fudge coming out of their faucets. Like, that's not okay, and they could have done something about it, but they just decided not to. Mississippi.
Whoa! Like... You're complaining about an entire state being turned into a Willy Wonka factory?
Yeah.
You know, it sounds to me like they're doing some wonderful things.
Yeah, I know, right? It's a magical world. It really is. You can turn on your faucet and you got a chocolate river right there. No golden ticket required. Now that's what I call America. But no, like those places down there. House. Yeah, like not a chicken in every pot, a golden ticket for every house. Everybody gets their Willy Wonka chocolate factory. But no, it's just like everything. Yeah, and it's like and like E. coli is like massive there too. Like people's like lives are falling apart. There should be no reason there's such thing as fucking Cancer Alley. There should be no such thing as a Cancer Alley when it comes to what your water is like, right? And like what have they done? It's just nothing, and it really sucks because those people are the ones that suffer the most. And I think you can actually, once you like dig past the culture war cringe, I really think that you can reach a lot of them when it's like, yeah, I don't really trust the Democrats, but like, man, our lives have just been getting worse progressively.
I mean, it's hard for a lot of people because, especially in Kentucky, if you look at like McConnell's a politician from what, the 80s? He's been there since like forever. He's been there like 50 years.
Yeah, he was there when like liking the Confederacy was really cool still.
Yeah.
Oh god.
Aren't there like photos of him with like David Duke?
Yes, he was there with David Duke. He was wearing he was holding up the Confederate flag. Yeah, I'm not joking. Like literally, he's been there for that long.
But like the thing is, 85.
Yeah, but the thing is, we do actually have Bashir, right? We have a Democratic governor.
Bashir was cool.
I mean, he's okay. You know, could be. He's the son of Bashir Senior, so he's from like you know those like old like dynasty Democrats in like the old slave states and the Rust Belt and everything, right? Like those, once you got like a good name and your family's been in office since like the Civil War, like it's pretty easy to get in. You can kind of just scoot in like that. I'm glad he did, and he's not bad. He's really not that bad. The Republicans hate him. I'm not sure if you all saw, but they hung like an effigy of him. They made like a scarecrow of him, and then during like the COVID lockdowns when he was trying to protect like people's like poison, like coal mine poison grandfathers from dying of COVID, they made like a puppet of him, life-size puppet of him, and then like tied it to a noose in front of the old oak tree in front of our legislature. It was not good. It was bad actually.
Jesus.
See, like that's what I liked about Bashir though, was that his COVID response was like unique for most governors. Like it was even better than the governor here in Colorado.
It was genuinely pretty, and it saved lives.
Yeah,
a lot of lives. And now a lot of conservatives didn't really care about that, but you know, whether they liked it or not, it probably saved a lot of them from dying.
Yeah.
As long as we're talking about, because we mentioned voting guides earlier and like governors' responses, a lot of states you directly elect your judges, which is extremely, extremely important because, I mean, if we look at, Jon Stewart just debated the AG of
Arkansas.
Arkansas. And right now, today, that piece of legislation is on trial. So these judges get to make so many decisions on like that anti-trans bill. It might get overturned in the courts, and that is all dependent on who, you know, at the state level, who we elect to be those judges. And of course, federal judges are appointed, but that is why it's so important to also be voting Democrats in at the federal level, because we need those votes in the Senate to approve those judges and justices in the Supreme Court. I think that the Republicans done a really good job at swaying the Supreme Court to be in their favor for generations. It's horrifying, but they did it successfully in a way that the Democrats were feeble when they had the opportunity to do it and failed to do it. And that is going to impact what can be enacted into law, and it's going to impact people's lives for generations to come. It's terrifying. So it's so important to either inform yourself about individual judges in those races, or just get a voting guide that's going to tell you which judges are good on which issues, because they really have an undue amount of influence over policy in our day-to-day lives. And so people just need to be vigilant about it.
Also, just to reiterate how important it is to know who you're voting for like into being a position of a judge. There was a story out of Michigan that I covered last week of a Michigan lawyer who's running for a circuit court judge in Michigan, who was caught on camera belt whipping his girlfriend. And not like there are, you look into him and there are like allegations, like he has a history of like spitting toothpaste on his girlfriend's child, like he like has thrown objects at them, this is why you should also just look into who's running for local office, because you might be like totally oblivious and just go like, sure, whatever, just vote for this guy. That guy could literally be like a domestic abuser, like known publicly as one of those, and you're putting him into power. So like, again, when we're talking about your local, state, and national elections, it's really, really important to look into who you're voting for in that regard. And I just thought that that was like really extreme and really illustrative of who you could just out of ignorance be voting into office.
Actually, focusing on the down ballot races is extremely important. And for far too long, the average American voter did not care about down ballot. They cared about president and maybe governor.
Yeah.
And like, it would be nice to see that trend shift.
Yeah. I'm actually wearing a JB Pritzker sweatshirt right now, who is our governor, who is I think he'll probably cruise to re-election, but I mean, he's done a lot of really good things for Illinois, passed massive bail reform. But I mean, another thing, which is I think is what is really important, like what you're doing here, Jack, with organizing things like this, is the misinformation that's coming out to right before the elections. It's just being pumped out. Like here in Illinois, like I said, we eliminated cash bail. It's huge. It's going to affect in January. And right now, the right wing is framing that as a purge law. And we have a literal Nazi running as the Republican candidate here, who has said multiple times that he thinks that abortion is worse than the Holocaust. And that the rest of the state of Illinois should secede from Chicago, which is insane. But he says many racist things about people who live in Chicago, which is code everyone knows for Black people. And he's called Muslim people animals and violent, and he's said extremely anti-Semitic things. I mean, but it is concerning, and so the misinformation that people are being pumped out. I mean, they're not being told about this man's heinous, horrible statements. They're being told that JB Pritzker is allowing criminals out onto your streets. You need to be scared of that. But I mean,
yeah.
Do you see it in Arizona with Blake Masters and all the misinformation about Mark Kelly, who's a fucking astronaut? I mean, he's a mid senator, but I mean, he's a vote that we need.
Yeah.
Versus Blake Masters, who was a footrest for Peter Thiel. I mean, he is a scumbag.
I actually watched that JB Pritzker debate, and I gotta say, like, I was impressed. I was expecting kind of a middling politician, but he had a really good showing in that debate, and like he really did a good job pushing back on that misinformation and like kind of bringing up his opponent's like pretty heinous positions. I hadn't heard the bit about wanting to secede from Chicago.
He's introduced that as a bill multiple times in our state.
That is fucking nonsense and absolutely insane. I can't. Guys, again, I think that this really just reiterates that Republicans are not serious people. They aren't approaching this in a serious way, and they don't have actual policy positions outside of fuck minorities, fuck trans people, fuck Black people. Those are their three core positions, and like it is reiterated by every one of these Trump like politicians, whether their target is Black people in inner cities or undocumented immigrants. It is time and time again, like, just reiterated by in these different races. Like, you can look at Blake Masters, you can look at Carrie Lake, you can look at like any of these politicians are they are out for themselves, and they are willing to say anything to further their own prestige. That's basically all they care about. And it sucks because the civil rights of trans people are just right now one of the most convenient footballs for them to kick around. And unfortunately, like, we aren't getting trans rights codified into law. This current makeup of the Senate and the House. But the hope is, if we're able to hold on to some shred of power in the House or the Senate, or fingers crossed both, that in the next election cycle we might actually be able to solidify that power and turn it into like actually a codifying of LGBT rights, abortion rights, and trans rights, which is why this is such a pivotal midterm election. It's kind of this is kind of the election where we get to decide, is this going to be like
This meme is very
like
real.
are we going to just be putting band-aids over like a gushing wound in 2024, or are we going to actually be like able to like suture up this wound? Like that's kind of like what this election will determine.
Sure, and like that on top of that, and I don't know, I've been telling my chat and my community and people who I'm with a little bit more this, which is there's not like a single like human right and civil right that you have that is not in danger if and when conservatives get power. And I mean that completely seriously, and literally everything could be up for grabs. I mean, I'm not sure how many people talked about it, or if everybody here knows Mike Braun, the senator from Indiana, who's just like above my state, Kentucky, was recently asked a question after like Roe v. Wade was overturned, and he was like, and they're like, well, do you want to bring like everything to be like a states' rights issues? And he was like, yeah, I think that's great. And make literally everything a states issue. And then he was brought up the specific question of interracial marriage, and he was like, yeah, like we should bring it back down to the states. So just so you know, he and other Republicans are perfectly fine with repealing the 1964 civil rights. We're now in a time where Republicans these days are worse than the Republicans pre-1964 Civil Rights Act. And so you need to understand that this is serious, right? This is really serious. And like, I don't know, maybe the likelihood of that happening is low, but it's kind of like, it's one of those things where it's any likelihood above 1% is far too high. And I think they're pushing well above like 1% when it comes to that. So you need to make sure that you get out there, because every right that you have is 100% under attack, whether it be like women having, I honestly believe it could be something like women going back to the times where it could be something like they're not allowed to have credit cards, their husbands can take out loans in their names without asking them, things along those lines, who you get to marry, who you get to love, who you get to be like friends with or something. It like all of these things, right? Or I don't know, maybe in some places, if they really like Matt Walsh, maybe even lowering the age of consent, who knows? And that's scary. I think that's scary personally. I don't think a 15-year-old is an adult, if I'm going to be completely honest with you. Some people disagree. I don't like those people. And so you need to understand that as like many memes and jokes that we make, that the most important thing is that you and people around you need to be able to get involved, because if we just sit down and just allow them to do whatever they want, things are going to get much worse much quicker. Because I will tell you, we still have a lot of pretty decent protections. It's not like a lot, it's not like a bunch. It needs to be a lot more, but I'm going to tell you now that things can get a lot worse. You can just look around the world for places that don't have the similar amounts of protections, whether those be judicial or already on the books, or already have people who are working day in and day out to make sure that they stay in place. And you can see how bad things can get for them.
Yeah.
And so we need to make sure that stays in, that you get involved.
I think it's really interesting that you mentioned like interracial marriage, because like I think that's something that a lot of especially younger people don't think of as like something that's an issue at all, or like something that like people are worried about. But it's worth noting that like I remember like maybe 15 years ago, 10 years ago, there was like a Cheerios commercial where it's like people are waking up in the morning, up to go to the table, eat some Cheerios, and like it was like an interracial couple, and like the internet had a fucking meltdown over the fact that it was like two people of different races like eating breakfast together. Yeah, like it is it's actually kind of crazy how ingrained an opposition of interracial marriage is into older generations. And I need to remind you guys that older generations vote. They vote more. And it's not a coincidence that there has been an uptick in like this whole what's it called, the Ann Coulter called it the Browning of America. But now we call it like the white
Great replacement theory.
Great replacement. Thank you. Like great replacement, white replacement. And it's actually not that surprising, because if you actually look back at how this has polled historically, there's a poll in 2017 that just kind of took stock of like American opinions on interracial marriage in like 50 years after the Loving decision that legalized it. Only 40% of adults said that like marrying people of other races was like good for society.
What did they say about enjoying a nice bowl of Cheerios with people of other races?
I think they made their opinion on that quite clear.
But it's kind of wild, right? Like we're going through like this backlash against the very idea of like, Hispanic people and white people being able to like have families together, or like black people and white people being able to have families together. And that's like a big part of the reason why in the United States especially, there's like this underlying fear of like, oh no, if two people love each other and have babies, they might be less white. Like it really comes down to that for a lot of people. And it's I don't think we can underestimate that effect, especially when it comes to older people voting, and how that can affect our politics and the political messages that are being put out.
I think that's also a good point, because I mean, Loving v. Virginia lightly is based off this concept of the right to privacy, which was destroyed in the Dobbs decision. But interestingly enough, a lot of states in their state constitutions have codified in their constitutions the right to privacy, which was not technically codified within the national constitution. So a lot of states that have passed these really restrictive abortion laws are being challenged under their state's constitutional right to privacy, which is just another reason why it's so important to elect progressive judges, but also progressives in your state legislators, because they, you don't want them undoing those constitutional protections within the states, which could quickly fall into, all abortions are illegal and you can't marry whoever you want to marry, whether that be whatever gender you want to marry or whatever race you want to marry. So it's, it's all really, organizing is important. Mutual aid is important, but voting is still so important to how, to protecting people's rights and protecting the rights of people to just enjoy their life and live their lives as their authentic selves and love who they love.
Absolutely. Okay, we're gonna go around real quick because we're at the end of the hour, and it's time to just kind of go through and like wrap up final thoughts from each of us before we jump into the next hour segment. We're gonna just go clockwise here and end with well, I guess we'll spiral. I'm sort of. Anyway, ranting trans, Jasmine, why don't you share some final thoughts with us?
Yeah, look, as I said at the very start, all these American politics affect internationally. So everything that we can do to try and cut it off the source in a way is what we really need. Like, I don't know if you're aware, but Australian politicians actually quote international politics. It's been brought up in our Senate. They quote some of the anti-trans bills popping up, and we actually get some fund. Some of our right-wing politicians get funding from some of your conservative think tanks.
Yep.
So it is a problem that leaks out. And yeah, that's why, unfortunately, we do have to keep track of American politics. And yeah, from what we see, there's so much to do, and it feels kind of heartless to, it feels kind of disheartening to feel that we can't do anything. But, I think there is stuff that we can support. There's a lot of Americans that, we can support either through, our time and effort, and that's just what we're trying to do here right now.
Absolutely. Don't uwu my owo.
You love saying that, huh?
I do. Woo.
So
Nice, good man.
I think just to reiterate, down ballot races are extremely important, and they're probably one of the biggest targets for where we need to get more volunteers to, because there's a lot more of them, and then therefore there's a lot fewer volunteers to go around with them. Make sure that you're getting out there and you're volunteering either through Progressive Victory or through your state Democrat Party or other progressive orgs that might be in your area, so that we can help these people get elected, especially in PA. Like I said, right now I enjoy protections. Where I live, I can't be kicked out of for being trans. My Medicaid paid for everything. That could easily end with a new governor not being Josh Shapiro.
Okay. Aaron Green.
Yeah, I think echoing what other people have said, volunteering is of course very important. I think we can do more to get not only people online involved, but people in real life, people in your community. I think organizing with those like GSA, DSA, stuff like that is very, very important. So yeah, absolutely, we can do a lot for that, and I think this group is definitely the group that I would trust to handle that.
Maddie Cakes. Can't hear you. Oh, there you go.
I know. Sorry. Yeah, I know it's not as sexy to get involved with a midterm election. It doesn't have that same appeal as the big presidential year, but it is so critical when we think about everything we want passed, when we think about how frustrated we get when the most basic popular pieces of legislation die on the floor of Congress or even on the floors of our state houses, state senates. This is where we can make that change. This is when we can go out there and not only cast our vote, but help mobilize people at every single level to also cast their vote and make sure that we keep the House, we keep the Senate, we extend, hopefully the Senate extend our majority and do well at the state level as well. Like literally all of your, I think Shark, you put it perfectly when talking with your chat, like literally all of your rights are on the table. So act like it.
Yeah. Shark.
Sure. Oh, and one thing I will say that this was my last hour. I will have to run, but I really appreciate being here. Thank you so much for inviting me. I really appreciate that. And I hope I hope I wasn't too bad.
You were great. and we're gonna be.
Dog's really cute.
Yeah, your dog is really cute. Yeah.
Look at him.
Yeah, he's a good boy.
And
yeah.
we're gonna be doing more of these streams, so hopefully we'll see you again real soon.
Oh yeah, 100%. But yeah, what I like to say to my chat and like to other people, and you guys can take this as well. You can steal it. I'll give it to you for free. You can say what I like to say is that you're living through history. Be a part of it. Everything from like the federal, state, local, city level, everything from knocking on doors to doing things. So to really make a change, we have to have like a two-pronged approach. We need dual power structures. We need to do things in and outside of the electoral process. I'm talking about things that involve voting. I'm talking about things like getting involved with homeless people, tenant unions, things along those lines. Talking to judges and people who work with people who work within the legal system to help make sure that you can get things passed, to make sure that your rights aren't taken away or taken advantage of. When a law can actually be there, but nobody actually is there to but nobody brings it up to actually enforce it. That can be something as well. Republicans love to do that, where they love to circumvent actual laws that are on the books. You can help put people in place and get people to talk about that and actually stop that. That's a really important thing. But even something like speaking at your local school board, your board of elections, since a lot of that's where a lot of conservatives are waging their war on normal human beings today, by doing things like banning books, banning trans people from using the bathrooms that they want to go through, or doing like female genital checkups. That's disgusting. I think for softball in like 6th grade. That's gross. You can do things to speak up and make your voice heard. In Ohio, they recently did that. The unkillable anti-trans bill recently over the weekend. A bunch of people came together. One of my good friend Alec actually went in a if this flag offends you, I'll help you pack shirt, but it was the trans flag on it, and they went to go speak on how this bill shouldn't pass, and they overwhelmed what is it it's that like Mothers Union, Parents for Liberty or whatever, that like insane group that you've been seeing going
Daughters
around.
of Liberty or something.
Not that one, but
Yeah.
there's another one that's been going on. It's like moms we hate trans people.com or whatever. Basically what they've been doing, that basically turned like Miami-Dade's school board from one election cycle voting to recognize pride to the next cycle banning trans people from using the bathroom that they want, right? And so and like basically forcibly outing people who may be gay or like a trans when they want to use different pronouns. So get involved, make sure that you're a part of it. It's vitally important that you do. You can make a change. And you can see you may not see your name in lights, but you can see your actual work that you've been able to do on the ground change people's lives, and they will be forever grateful for what you've done, and you'll be forever grateful to yourself for what you're able to do for people who wouldn't have been able to have the help if you weren't there. That's why your life matters. But yeah, that's it for me. I really appreciate you all for having me on. Thank you so much.
And since you are heading out, where can people find you?
Well, my name is Shark300. That's the word shark, the number 3, the letter O, and the word 0. I stream on Twitch, same name. I don't stream on YouTube, but I post video content on YouTube. Same exact name if you want to find me. I'm always dropping sick memes, and I'm playing Splatoon a lot. So that's what we're doing recently. And I love indie games. So if you love indie games, I keep track of those as well, while also keeping you up to date on the funniest top kecked memes, as well as the most fresh politics, and giving you only correct takes, because I was born that way. I was only born to make correct takes. It's wild how it works out. It's kind of difficult sometimes. But yeah, I appreciate you all. So thank you.
Yeah, thank you for turning out. Really appreciate you. And yeah, it's been nice. It's been nice to talk to you. We haven't had a chance to like say hi in a while.
real.
So
That's true.
Thank you for coming on.
We did need to keep up. We should call on stream sometime soon. Okay.
We should. I'm always down.
Amazing. Take care, everyone.